Don't miss the awesome Naruto stories my sister creates. Her last channel was hacked, so to stay in the loop, please subscribe to her new channel. It would mean a lot to her, and you won't regret it. Dear Naruto Lemon fans, I'm thrilled to invite all of you to my Boosty channel, where you can enjoy exclusive Naruto Lemon scenes in a comfortable and supportive community. Choose from various subscription tiers, from Mini Lemon to God Lemon, and gain access to unique content tailored just for our fans. Plus, subscribers to over Naruto Lemon and God Lemon will receive special mentions in my videos. Support my channel and dive deeper into the world of Naruto today. Dare! My story. 1. Awakening in a New World. Naruto opened his eyes and immediately felt something strange. Usually he woke up to the sounds of birds singing or the noises of the village, but this was different. Instead of the familiar sounds of Konoha, he heard a quiet hum that could only belong to the city. He got out of bed and looked around. The room he was in was completely unfamiliar to him. Ordinary, rather simple, but cozy. White walls, a couple of shelves with books and a small nightstand by the bed. There was a soft rug on the floor, and on the table by the window there was a small pot with a plant that Naruto had never heard of. Where am I? Naruto thought, trying to remember the events leading up to his awakening. The last thing he could remember was the battle with Kaguya. He and Sasuke had to face a powerful force that could destroy everything around them. And in the midst of the battle, something strange happened. The space around them seemed to bend, and then darkness fell. Naruto shook his head, trying to get rid of the unpleasant feeling. It was all like a dream, but too real to be just an illusion. He walked to the window and looked out. What he saw only increased his anxiety. A completely unfamiliar city stretched out before him, with tall buildings, wide streets and a stream of people hurrying about their business. Cars drove by, their headlights shining, and somewhere in the distance he saw a park with green trees and benches. Naruto took a deep breath, trying to process what he was seeing. He knew this wasn't his world at all, but how and why did he end up here? Just yesterday he was in Konoha, surrounded by friends and allies, and now here he was, in a world where everything was completely different. There was no sign of chakra or martial arts in this world, and apparently there was no place for people like him. He looked around the room again. Everything looked pretty ordinary, but one thing caught his attention, a small black rectangle on the nightstand. He carefully picked it up and, to his surprise, saw the device come to life. Some symbols appeared on the screen, which he did not immediately understand. It was something like the smartphone that his friends in Konoha told him about, but this one was more modern. Naruto did not know how to use it, but he saw a message on the screen, "Good morning. We will meet in an hour. Mahiru." The name Mahiru didn't bring back any memories. Who was this girl? Why did she send him a message? And most importantly, why was he here? The questions piled up, but there were no answers. At that moment, he heard a light knock on the door. "Hey Naruto, are you ready?" A quiet female voice came from the other side. Naruto shuddered and froze. Who could it be? He opened the door and saw a girl standing in front of him, who he thought was about 18 to 19 years old. Her long brown hair fell loosely on her shoulders, and her light brown eyes looked at him with slight surprise. She was beautiful, but there was something in her gaze that made Naruto feel a strange mixture of warmth and awkwardness. "You? Mahiru?" he asked, trying not to show his confusion. The girl smiled slightly, but a shadow of doubt flashed in her eyes. "Yes, it's me. Are you okay? You look a little strange, Naruto." Naruto was even more confused. How did she know his name? And why was she talking to him as if they had known each other for a long time? However, he knew that he couldn't just admit that he didn't remember anything that should have happened here up until this point. Just woke up a little early, he tried to explain, though he wasn't sure of his words. He chuckled, hoping that would clear up her doubts. Mahiru looked at him carefully, then nodded. I see. Anyway, let's have breakfast. I made something light. It will help you recover. Naruto felt his situation was getting more and more difficult. He followed Mahiru into the small but cozy kitchen. It had everything necessary for cooking: a stove, a refrigerator, several cabinets with dishes. On the table were cups of hot tea and a plate of toast. Mahiru sat down at the table and motioned for Naruto to join her. He sat down across from her, trying to keep some logic in his head. What if this was all some kind of trick? Or had he really been transported to another world? You must be hungry, Mahiru said, handing him a cup of tea. You were so tired yesterday that you barely had time to eat. I hope you feel better today. Naruto took the cup and took a sip. The tea was pleasant, with a slight fruity taste. It helped him relax a little, but questions still plagued him. How could he explain his appearance here? And most importantly, what to do now? While they ate, Mahiru talked about how she was going to spend the day. She mentioned that she was planning on taking a walk in the park and maybe visiting some shops. Naruto tried to keep up the conversation by nodding and agreeing, but his mind was wandering. He couldn't shake the feeling that this was all wrong. But at the same time, he was curious to know more about this world. By the way, Naruto, Mahiru suddenly said, interrupting his thoughts. You said yesterday that you had some business in town. Do you want me to come with you? Naruto was at a loss. He needed time to think about it, but he couldn't just turn down her offer. Yeah, it would be great if you showed me around the city, he replied, knowing that it would give him a chance to get to know this world better. Mahiru smiled, pleased with his answer. Great. I'm sure you'll like it. There are many interesting places here, and we can have a good time. After breakfast, Mahiru invited him to walk around the apartment and show him everything he might need. Naruto carefully examined every detail, trying to figure out what had happened to his life. The apartment was small, but very cozy, with comfortable furniture and bright sunlight flooding the rooms. As they walked outside, Naruto couldn't help but be surprised by how different everything was here. The people around him seemed to be busy with their own affairs, cars drove by, and the air was filled with the unfamiliar smells of the city. There was nothing here that reminded him of Konoha. Everything was new and unfamiliar. Mahiru suggested that they start their walk at the park nearby. The park was green and well-kept, with long paths where people were walking and benches where families and couples were sitting. Naruto noticed how happy many of them looked, and it gave him a warm feeling. There was a peace here that he hadn't seen often in his past life. This is one of my favorite places, Mahiru said, pointing to a small pond surrounded by flowers. It's always so quiet and peaceful here. Whenever I want to think about something important, I come here. Naruto nodded silently, feeling that this park really had some kind of magic that soothed the soul. He sat down on one of the benches and Mahiru joined him. They sat next to each other, enjoying the silence and the view of the water. For the first time in a long time, Naruto felt like he could relax and just be himself. You know, Mahiru suddenly said, I've always believed that life is made up of small joys. Like this park, for example. Here you can forget about all your problems and just enjoy the moment. Naruto looked at her and thought. Maybe this was what he needed. His whole life had been filled with battles, conflicts, and tension. Maybe this new world was giving him a chance to start over? To become someone different than he was before? As the day came to an end, Naruto felt that time had passed unnoticed. Mahiru showed him some places that were dear to her and told him about her life. She turned out to be a very kind and sympathetic girl who, despite her modesty, knew how to keep up a conversation and create a cozy atmosphere. When they returned home, Mahiru offered to cook dinner together. Naruto happily agreed and they had a fun time cooking simple but delicious dishes. In the process, Mahiru told him about her culinary interests and shared a few recipes. Naruto was surprised at how easy and pleasant it was for him to be with her. After dinner, they sat on the couch again and continued their conversation. Mahiru told him about how she often felt lonely, despite having a good job and friends. Naruto felt like he understood her. He too felt lonely many times, even when he was around people who loved him. "You know," Mahiru said quietly, looking at him, "I'm glad you're here. It makes my loneliness easier to cope with your company." Naruto smiled sheepishly. "I'm glad I met you too, Mahiru. You made me feel at home in this strange world." Mahiru looked at him gratefully. "Do you really think this is a strange world?" Naruto thought for a moment before answering. "Not really. It's just different. But maybe that's not such a bad thing. Maybe here I'll find what I've been looking for my whole life." Mahiru nodded slightly, agreeing with his words. "I hope so too, Naruto. And if you need help, I'm always here." They talked for a long time until the night had enveloped the city. Naruto felt that this night was special. For the first time in a long time, he was able to relax and just enjoy being with someone he cared about. As Mahiru bid him good night and went to her room, Naruto was left alone with his thoughts. He knew that this world was giving him a chance at a new life, and he was going to take advantage of it. There might be a lot he had to learn and understand, but he knew that as long as Mahiru was by his side, he could handle anything. Naruto lay down on his bed and looked up at the ceiling. "I can do this," he said quietly to himself, feeling the fatigue slowly creeping up on him. "I'll definitely do this." With these thoughts he fell asleep, confident that the new day would bring new opportunities. 2. The first meeting. Naruto woke up early in the morning, but this time the feeling of strangeness was not as acute as the day before. He slowly opened his eyes and let the light penetrate his consciousness, waking him from his sleep. The world he was in still seemed alien to him, but now that he had already spent some time here, the environment was no longer so frightening. He got out of bed, stretched, feeling how his body ached pleasantly after sleep, and headed towards the balcony. Opening the door, Naruto stepped out into the fresh air. The morning was calm and quiet, the sun had just begun to rise above the horizon, filling everything around with a warm golden light. The city below him was already beginning to come to life. The first passers-by appeared on the streets, cars moved slowly along the roads, and birds were singing in the trees in the park opposite. Naruto took a deep breath, enjoying the coolness of the morning air. It was so unusual for him to be in a place where there were no traces of his past world. He leaned against the balcony railing and looked down, watching the city awaken. It was something new for him, unusual, but at the same time it had its own charm. He liked the calm, measured life that he saw around him. Just yesterday he was immersed in a whirlwind of events and battles, and now he had the opportunity to simply enjoy the moment. While Naruto was thinking, a slight rustling sound nearby caught his attention. He turned to see Mahiru on the nearby balcony, who seemed to have just stepped out to enjoy the morning air. She looked relaxed, but when she noticed Naruto, she became slightly embarrassed and froze slightly, as if she hadn't expected to see him so early. "Good morning, Naruto," she said with a slight smile, trying to hide her surprise. Naruto smiled back, feeling his own embarrassment slowly fade away. "Good morning, Mahiru. I didn't know we lived so close to each other." Mahiru laughed, her laugh light and melodious. "Yeah, our apartments are right next to each other. It's funny you didn't notice that yesterday." Naruto felt awkward for a moment. Yesterday, he had been so caught up in his own thoughts and trying to figure out where he was that he hadn't even noticed such important details. But now that he realized it, he felt somewhat relieved. It was nice to know that Mahiru, this kind person, lived right next to him. How did you sleep? Mahiru asked, her voice soft and caring, like an old friend who was genuinely interested in your well-being. Naruto considered her question. His sleep had been restless, a mixture of memories of the past and vague images of the present, but he didn't want to burden Mahiru with his worries. Everything was fine, he replied, trying to sound as confident as possible. How are you? Did you get enough sleep? Mahiru nodded and smiled again. Yes, I always wake up early. Morning is my favorite time of day. It's the time when you can just enjoy the silence and think about the future. Naruto nodded, agreeing with her words. He also loved the morning, especially the early hours when the rest of the world was still asleep and he could be alone with himself and his thoughts. It was the time when he could forget about all his responsibilities and just enjoy the moment. Do you go out on the balcony often? Naruto asked, trying to keep the conversation going. Mahiru nodded again, her eyes shining with warmth and kindness. Yes, this is my favorite place in the apartment. It's so peaceful here, and you can think about something important. Do you like it here? Naruto thought about it. Everything in this world seemed new and unfamiliar to him, but he was already starting to get used to this place. Yeah, it's very cozy here, he replied, feeling his words becoming more and more sincere. Though it's still a little weird, to be honest. Mahiru laughed, her laugh soft and encouraging. I know what you mean. A new place always feels a little strange at first. But over time, you'll get used to it, and it'll feel like home. Naruto nodded, her words making him feel a little more confident. He was already starting to feel like this world could be something special for him if he gave himself a chance to adapt. If you want, I can show you around, Mahiru offered, her eyes shining with enthusiasm. We can walk around the area, and I'll tell you about all the interesting places. Naruto was pleasantly surprised by her offer. It was exactly what he needed. He wanted to learn more about the new place and he was sure that Mahiru would be an excellent guide. I would be glad, he replied, smiling sincerely. Thank you, Mahiru. They agreed to meet up a little later to go for a walk together. Naruto went back to his room to prepare for the upcoming walk, while Mahiru stayed on the balcony, enjoying the morning sun and cool air. When the time came for the meeting, Naruto was ready. He left his apartment and headed to the place where they agreed to meet. Mahiru was already waiting for him at the entrance of the building, and together they went on a short tour of the area. I think you'll like it here, Mahiru said as they began their journey. There are many interesting places here, and each one has its own special atmosphere. Naruto nodded, curious to know more about this place. They headed towards the park that Mahiru had already shown him the day before. It was one of her favorite places, and Naruto could see why. The park was even more beautiful in the morning. The sun's rays filtered through the trees, creating strange shadows on the paths. The water in the pond reflected the sky, and the sight was so peaceful that Naruto forgot about all his worries for a moment. It's so peaceful here, Naruto said, his voice quiet, almost a whisper. I can see why you like this place. Mahiru smiled, her eyes shining with happiness. Yeah, this is one of those places where you can forget about everything and just enjoy the moment. It's always so quiet and peaceful here. They walked slowly along the path, and Naruto felt his tension gradually fading. He began to realize that this world was truly different from the one he was used to. There were no constant battles, threats, or worries. Everything was simpler, but at the same time deeper. In this world, he could just be himself, without worrying about saving the world or protecting anyone. Have you ever thought about how everything can change in an instant? Mahiru asked, her voice as quiet as the rustling of leaves in the wind. Naruto thought about it. He had to deal with unexpected changes many times, especially in his past life. Yes, there are such moments, he replied, his voice soft, but there was an inner strength in it. Sometimes they are scary, but at the same time they give new opportunities. Mahiru nodded, her eyes thoughtful. Sometimes change can be good. I'm glad you're here. Naruto. I think my life will be a little brighter now. Naruto was touched by her words. He didn't expect that someone could be so genuinely happy about his presence, especially in such a new and strange place for him. He felt himself starting to get attached to Mahiru, and he liked that feeling. They continued their walk through the park, talking about life, sharing their thoughts and dreams. Naruto was surprised at how easy it was for him to talk to Mahiru. He felt calm and confident in her company, as if they had known each other for many years. When they got home, Naruto felt like it was one of the best days he had in a while. Mahiru invited him to join her for dinner and they had a fun time again, discussing various topics and laughing at minor misunderstandings. After dinner, they sat on the couch again, enjoying each other's company. Mahiru told him about her childhood, how she grew up in this city, how she met her friends, and how she always dreamed of finding her place in this world. Her stories were full of sincerity and warmth, and Naruto felt like she was opening up to him, trusting him with her innermost thoughts. You know, Naruto, Mahiru said suddenly, her voice quiet and thoughtful. I've always felt like there was something missing in my life. Like I was living in some kind of vacuum, and I'm just now starting to realize what it is. Naruto listened to her carefully, feeling that her words were touching on something important. What is it, Mahiru? He asked, his voice soft but with a sense of sincerity. Mahiru looked at him, her eyes full of tenderness and warmth. I think I was missing someone I could share my life with. Someone who understood me and would be there for me when I needed it. Naruto felt his heart skip a beat. He understood what she was saying and felt like her words were about him too. There had always been many people in his life, but there was no one he could share his deepest thoughts and feelings with. Perhaps that was why he had begun to feel affection for Mahiru. I felt something like that too, Naruto admitted, his voice quiet but the strength of his feelings was evident in it. I was always surrounded by people, but I never felt like I was truly understood. Maybe it's because I didn't always know what I wanted out of life myself. Mahiru smiled, her smile warm and encouraging. I think we're all looking for our place in the world. And sometimes that place is right next to us, you just have to open your eyes and see it. Naruto nodded, her words were simple but there was a deep wisdom in them. He began to understand that this new world could offer him something he had never known before, the simple joy of being alive, of being with people who understood him and appreciated him for who he was. As the night drew to a close and Mahiru went to her room, Naruto was left alone with his thoughts. He felt that this day had been special. He began to realize that his life could change for the better if he allowed himself to accept these changes. Perhaps it was here, in this new world, that he could find what he had been searching for all his life, simple human happiness. Naruto lay down on his bed and closed his eyes, his thoughts still occupied with the past day. He knew that there were many new discoveries and challenges ahead of him, but now he was sure that he could cope with them, because Mahiru was nearby, believing in him and supporting him. Thank you, Mahiru, he whispered, feeling the fatigue slowly creeping up on him. I'm glad I met you. With these thoughts he fell asleep, confident that the new day would bring new opportunities and joys. 3. New life. Naruto woke up early in the morning, but this time there was no feeling of anxiety or fear of a new day. Every day he got more and more used to this world, where there was no chakra and endless battles. New tasks began to appear in his life, and although they seemed simple, each of them gave him a reason to think about how to live on. The light streaming through the window woke him up, and Naruto, as always, first stretched to clear away the last of his sleep. He then sat up in bed and, feeling a slight urge to start the day with something simple and pleasant, decided that it would be a good idea to make breakfast. In his previous world, food was often a low priority, but now, in this new world, he was beginning to understand how important it was to be able to cook for yourself. He left the bedroom and headed to the kitchen, where he was already getting used to the new objects and devices. Opening the refrigerator, he carefully examined its contents. Bread, eggs, some vegetables and milk. I'll start with the simple ones, Naruto thought, taking out everything he needed. He put the pan on the stove and started cooking eggs, trying to remember all the tips Mahiru had given him. But it turned out to be not that easy. After a few minutes, a lump of something that could hardly be called an omelette appeared on the pan. Naruto sighed, realizing that his cooking skills still needed to be honed. At that moment, the door opened slightly and Mahiru appeared on the threshold, her face lit up with a slight smile. "Good morning, Naruto," she said, looking around the kitchen and noticing the unfortunate creation in the frying pan. "Are you up yet? How did you sleep?" Naruto turned around and, smiling slightly embarrassedly, replied, "Good morning, Mahiru. I slept fine, but cooking, that's clearly not my thing." Mahiru laughed, and her laughter sounded like a melody that instantly brightened the mood. She came closer, looked at what was left of his attempt at making breakfast, and shook her head. "Don't worry, it all comes with practice. Do you want me to help you with breakfast?" Naruto happily agreed. Together they started cooking. Mahiru explained every step, showing him how to handle the ingredients properly, how to cut vegetables, how to make sure the food doesn't burn. Naruto listened attentively, trying to remember all her advice. He was grateful for her patience and help. The breakfast was much better than Naruto could have expected. There was hot toast, scrambled eggs with vegetables, and fresh juice on the table. It was a simple but delicious breakfast, and Naruto felt proud of his achievements. "Thank you, Mahiru," he thanked her as they sat down at the table. "I never thought I could make something edible, but with your help, it worked out." Mahiru smiled, her eyes shining with joy. "Always happy to help. In this world, such skills are very important. After all, there is no need to fight like in your past." Naruto thought about her words. Not long ago, his life was filled with endless battles, challenges, and dangers. Now everything had changed, and he began to understand that he needed to adapt to a new world. There were no enemies to defeat, no dangers to defend against. Life here was calmer, but at the same time, it required new skills and abilities from him. After breakfast, Mahiru suggested that Naruto take a walk around the city to show him how things worked. Naruto happily agreed. He knew that he had to learn to live in this new world, and Mahiru's support was very important to him. They left the house and headed towards the nearest store. Mahiru told him about how life in this world works, how to buy food, how to pay the rent and electricity bills. It was all new to Naruto, but he listened carefully and tried to remember every detail. "Everything here seems so simple, yet complicated at the same time," Naruto remarked as they entered the supermarket. "It was different back in Konoha. We were used to a simpler way of life." Mahiru nodded, understanding him. "Yes, there are many differences here. But I'm sure you'll learn everything quickly. The main thing is not to be afraid to ask questions and try new things." Naruto agreed with her words. He knew that he needed to learn a lot to feel confident in this world. He decided that he would try to learn everything that was necessary to live comfortably here. As they walked through the aisles of the store, Mahiru told him about the different products, their uses, and their benefits. Naruto listened attentively, trying to remember as much information as he could. He was beginning to understand that every new day in this world would bring him something new, and he wanted to be prepared for anything. When they got home, Naruto decided to try cooking something with the things they had bought. Mahiru suggested he make a simple soup, and Naruto gladly accepted the challenge. Under her guidance, he chopped vegetables, made broth, and kept track of time. It was like training, but instead of using strength or agility, he was learning precision and attention. "You did well, Naruto," Mahiru praised him when the soup was ready. "Everything turned out very tasty." Naruto felt proud of his work. "Thank you, Mahiru. I'm glad I did it." They sat down at the table and began to eat, discussing their plans for the rest of the day. Naruto knew that he needed to find something to do that would help him take his place in this world. He couldn't just sit around doing nothing, he needed to find a way to be useful. "Mahiru, I wanted to ask you something," Naruto began as they finished eating. "What do you think I can do in this world? I'm not used to this kind of life, and I need to find something useful." Mahiru thought for a moment. "That's a good question, Naruto. I think you should try a few different activities to see what you like. There are many options out there, and you can choose what you like." Naruto nodded, agreeing with her words. "You're right. I need to try something new. Maybe I'll find something I really like." Mahiru suggested that he try working with children, perhaps helping out at a kindergarten or school. Naruto was interested in the idea. He had always loved children and was good at getting along with them. Perhaps this could be a new beginning for him. "I think it might be interesting," he said, considering her offer. "I've always loved children, and working with them might be a good occupation for me." Mahiru echoed his enthusiasm. "Then tomorrow we can go to the nearest kindergarten and see if they need help. I think they'll be happy to accept an energetic and kind person like you." Naruto was glad that he had found something that interested him. He felt that this new life was slowly starting to make sense. He was already getting used to the new rhythm and new responsibilities, and he felt more confident with each passing day. That evening, as they sat on the couch drinking tea again, Naruto realized that his relationship with Mahiru had begun to change. They had become closer, their conversations had become more personal, and Naruto had begun to feel more than just friendly affection for her. "Thank you, Mahiru," he said quietly, looking at her. "You really helped me adapt to this world. I definitely wouldn't have been able to cope without you." Mahiru smiled, her eyes glowing with warmth. "I'm glad I can be of use to you, Naruto. You've become an important person to me too." These words warmed Naruto's soul. He understood that their relationship was just beginning to develop, and this was something new and exciting for him. He felt that there were many new discoveries and moments ahead that would help him understand what it meant to truly live. The next morning, they went together to the kindergarten Mahiru had mentioned. It was a small building in a cozy part of town, surrounded by greenery and playgrounds. When they entered, they were greeted by a young woman who introduced herself as a teacher. "Good morning. How can I help you?" she asked, noticing Naruto and Mahiru. "Good morning," Naruto began, a little nervously. "My name is Naruto, and I was wondering if you could help out here at the daycare. I'd like to try working with the kids." The teacher smiled and nodded affably. "We are always glad to have new helpers. Children are our joy, and if you have the desire and patience, we will gladly accept your help." Thus began a new chapter in Naruto's life. He began working at a kindergarten, helping the teachers and taking care of the children. Every day brought new tasks and challenges, but Naruto took them on with enthusiasm. He quickly found a common language with the children, and they loved him for his kindness and attention. Working at the kindergarten brought Naruto not only satisfaction, but also new experiences. He began to understand how important simple things like care and attention that he gave to the children were. Seeing them grow and learn filled his heart with warmth. Every evening, returning home, Naruto shared his impressions with Mahiru. She listened to his stories with interest and supported him in all his endeavors. Their relationship became even closer, and Naruto began to realize that Mahiru had become someone special to him. One evening, as they were sitting on the couch again, discussing the day that had passed, Mahiru suddenly asked Naruto a question that made him think. "Naruto, how do you see your future in this world?" she asked, her voice quiet and serious. Naruto thought about her words. He knew this world had become his home, but he still wasn't sure what would happen next. "I don't know yet," he admitted, looking at her. But I do know one thing, I want to be useful and bring benefit to others. And I'm glad I found my place here. Mahiru smiled, her eyes glowing with warmth. I'm sure you'll find your way, Naruto. You've done a lot already, and I'm proud of you. These words warmed Naruto's soul. He felt that despite all the changes in his life, he had found his place in this world. He was grateful to Mahiru for her support and understanding, and knew that their relationship would only grow stronger with each passing day. Night had fallen over the city once again, and Naruto, lying in bed, thought about his future. He knew that many new challenges and tasks awaited him ahead, but now he was confident that he could handle them. After all, Mahiru was there, believing in him and supporting him at every step. 4. A cozy dinner. The day was drawing to a close, and the city was bathed in the soft light of the setting sun. Naruto, returning home after a day of work at the kindergarten, felt tired but content. Working with children brought him joy and satisfaction, and he was glad that he had found an occupation that filled his life with meaning in this new world. As he approached the door of his apartment, Mahiru came out from the neighboring apartment. She looked happy and energetic, as if she had come up with an interesting idea. "Hello Naruto," she greeted him, smiling. "How was your day?" "Hello, Mahiru," Naruto replied, smiling back. "It's been a busy day, but I'm glad I was able to help the kids. How was your day?" "I'm fine," she replied, but a sparkle came into her eyes and she added, "I was thinking. How about we cook dinner together tonight? I'd like to cook something special, and I need your help." Naruto was surprised by her suggestion, but he liked the idea. He enjoyed spending time with Mahiru, and being able to cook dinner together seemed like a great way to spend the evening. "That's a great idea," he replied enthusiastically. "I'd be happy to help." "Great!" Mahiru exclaimed, her eyes shining with joy. "Then let's go to the store first, buy everything we need, and then start cooking." They went to the nearest supermarket where Mahiru started to gather ingredients for dinner. Naruto walked alongside her, listening to her explain what they would be making. She picked out some simple but tasty dishes that they could both enjoy. "I think we can make chicken with vegetables," Mahiru said, putting fresh vegetables into the basket. "And for dessert, we'll make something light, like a fruit salad." Naruto nodded, agreeing with her suggestion. He liked her energy and confidence in what she did. He felt that cooking with her would not only be useful, but also fun. When they got home, Mahiru immediately started sorting out the groceries, and Naruto helped her, listening carefully to her instructions. Soon, the kitchen was in full swing. They were chopping vegetables, marinating chicken, and preparing sauce. "Have you ever cooked such a complicated dish?" Mahiru asked as they began chopping vegetables together. Naruto looked slightly embarrassed. "To be honest, no," he admitted. "But I'm glad I can learn from you. You seem like a real master of cooking." Mahiru laughed, her laugh light and melodious. "I just love cooking, and I like it when food turns out delicious. But believe me, there's nothing complicated about it. The main thing is to follow the recipe and not be afraid to try something new." Naruto nodded, trying to remember her words. He was already beginning to understand that in this world he needed to learn many new skills, and cooking was one of them. "By the way, Naruto," Mahiru suddenly said, her tone changing to a more playful one. "Have you ever tried cooking something really out of the ordinary?" Naruto thought for a moment, remembering his attempts at cooking back in Konoha. "Well, I once tried making ramen with a special sauce I made up. But it ended with me almost setting the kitchen on fire," he admitted with a smile. Mahiru laughed even louder. "Wow! You must be a real experimenter in the kitchen. But it's okay, everything is under control today, and we definitely won't start a fire." They continued cooking, and as the evening turned into night, the kitchen became more and more cozy. The smells of freshly cooked food filled the apartment, creating an atmosphere of warmth and comfort. Naruto and Mahiru exchanged jokes and stories about their lives, and with each passing minute they became closer to each other. When the chicken was done and the vegetables were gently simmering in the pan, Mahiru suggested taking a short break. "Let's rest for a bit while everything cooks," she suggested, sitting down at the table. "I'll make some tea." Naruto sat down next to her, feeling the fatigue slowly leave his body. This evening was special to him, and he began to realize that Mahiru had become more than just a friend to him, but someone he could easily and enjoyably spend time with. "Mahiru," he began as she placed a cup of tea in front of him, "I wanted to say thank you. You're really helping me adapt to this world. Without you, I'd probably just be lost." Mahiru looked at him warmly. "You're welcome, Naruto. I'm glad I can be of use to you. You've become an important person to me too. I like spending time with you." Those words sent a wave of warmth through Naruto. He felt something new growing in his chest, a feeling he hadn't felt before. It was more than just affection. It became clear to him that he was starting to feel something more for Mahiru. "You know, I've never felt like this before," he admitted quietly, looking at her. "I'm used to being the center of attention, always protecting someone or something, but this is different. I can just be myself, and this is really new for me." Mahiru listened to him attentively, her eyes shining with understanding. "You've always been a hero, Naruto. But even heroes deserve a little peace and happiness. Maybe this world is giving you the opportunity to find your own happiness?" Naruto thought about her words. He had never thought about his own happiness before, always putting others first. But now, being here with Mahiru, he began to understand that he deserved to be happy, that he too had the right to joy and peace. When they finished drinking tea, Mahiru suggested that they get back to cooking. They finished cooking dinner together, and soon there was a delicious chicken and vegetables on the table that they had cooked together. Mahiru decorated the table with candles, creating a cozy and warm atmosphere. They sat down at the table and Naruto felt his heart begin to beat faster. This dinner wasn't just a meal, it was a special moment where he felt something new was beginning between them, something more than just friendship. "Well, let's try what we've got," Mahiru suggested with a smile, picking up her fork. Naruto nodded and took a piece of chicken. The food was delicious and he couldn't help but smile. "This is really good," he said, enjoying every bite. "You're a master cook, Mahiru." She smiled shyly, but her eyes were shining with joy. "I'm glad you like it. But you did a great job too. It's our joint merit." They continued their dinner, enjoying the taste of the food and the company of each other. Time flew by, and Naruto felt that this evening had become one of the most memorable moments in his new life. Once dinner was over and they had cleared the table, Mahiru suggested they watch a movie. Naruto happily agreed. They settled down on the couch and Mahiru chose a light romantic comedy that was perfect for ending the evening. The movie started and Naruto felt his attention slowly being drawn to the plot. He didn't often watch movies in Konoha, but this one was something new and interesting to him. At some point, he noticed that Mahiru was sitting next to him, and there was only a small distance between them. His heart started beating faster and he realized that this feeling was not going away, but rather was getting stronger. At one point, when a particularly touching moment happened on the screen, Naruto felt Mahiru move slightly closer to him. He froze, not knowing how to react properly, but at the same time he felt like he didn't want to move away. They sat in silence, enjoying the movie and the fact that this moment was something special. The romantic tension between them was growing, and Naruto began to realize that his feelings for Mahiru were becoming more obvious. He began to wonder what would happen next, and how their relationship was progressing. As the movie came to an end and the credits began to roll, Naruto turned to Mahiru to say something, but she beat him to it. "Thank you, Naruto," she said softly, looking him straight in the eyes. "This evening has been very important to me. I feel like we're getting closer to each other." Naruto felt his heart begin to beat faster again. I feel it too, Mahiru, he replied, his voice soft but with sincerity in it. I'm glad I met you in this world. You've made my life here so much better. They sat looking at each other, and a silence filled with feelings and emotions hung between them. It was a moment when words were not needed, when everything was clear without them. Soon, Mahiru suggested that they call it a night. They were both tired, but happy. Naruto said goodbye to her, but inside, he knew that this evening had become more than just a dinner for him. He began to realize that their relationship had reached a new level, and this made him not only happy, but also a little nervous about the future. Naruto lay in bed, unable to fall asleep for a long time. His thoughts were occupied with Mahiru and what had happened between them. He realized that his life in this world was beginning to take on a new meaning, and that his feelings for Mahiru were growing stronger. He knew there were many more moments to share together ahead. But that evening was the starting point for him, when he began to realize that their relationship could become something special and important. With these thoughts, he finally closed his eyes, feeling the fatigue take its toll. But there was a small smile on his face, and there was a warmth in his heart from the knowledge that he had found something more in this new world. 5. Helping each other. The morning came with the usual sunlight streaming through the curtains. Naruto woke up early, his inner rhythm long accustomed to active weekdays, even though his life was now far from the former stressful ninja days. He stretched, straightening his muscles, and mentally decided that today would be a useful and productive day. He remembered the conversation with Mahiru the day before. She mentioned that she was planning on doing a major cleaning of the apartment. Naruto knew how difficult it could be to do such a big cleaning alone, and decided to offer her his help. He knew he wasn't a master at housework, but he still wanted to do something nice for Mahiru. Naruto walked out of his apartment and headed to Mahiru's door. He knocked and a moment later she opened the door, her face glowing with surprise and joy. "Hello, Naruto," she said with a warm smile. "You're so early. Is something wrong?" "Good morning, Mahiru," Naruto replied, trying not to show his nervousness. "I figured you were going to be cleaning today, so I thought I'd offer to help. Together we'll get it done quicker, and you won't have to spend the whole day doing it." Mahiru was surprised by his offer, but her face quickly softened into a grateful smile. "That would be great, Naruto. But are you sure? Cleaning isn't the most fun thing to do." Naruto laughed. "I'm sure. Besides, it's a great way to spend time together." Mahiru nodded and stepped aside, inviting him in. "Thank you. You really are very kind." As soon as they started cleaning, Naruto immediately realized that his skills in housework left much to be desired. Starting with vacuuming, he accidentally hit a vase on the table, causing it to roll onto the floor with a loud sound. Naruto reacted with lightning speed, catching the vase at the last moment, but some water still spilled onto the floor. Mahiru, hearing the noise, hurried to his aid. Seeing Naruto standing there with a vase in his hands and a guilty smile on his face, she couldn't help but laugh. "You're quite the ninja, Naruto. But it seems cleaning is also an art that requires practice." Naruto nodded, slightly embarrassed. "Yeah, you're right. But I'm not giving up. Let's continue." Mahiru continued to show him how to do this or that task, and Naruto enthusiastically followed her instructions. However, despite his best efforts, funny incidents continued to happen. The next task was to clean the windows. Mahiru explained to Naruto how to use the cleaning products properly, but he, not wanting to listen to long explanations, decided to do it his own way. He actively sprayed the product on the glass and enthusiastically rubbed it with a rag. However, after a few minutes, the windows looked more foggy than clean. Mahiru laughed again after seeing his efforts. "Naruto, maybe you should try slowing down and being more careful? It's not just strength that's important, but precision as well." Naruto scratched the back of his head in embarrassment. I guess I'm too used to combat missions, and not to such delicate matters. Mahiru helped him finish the job by showing him how to clean the windows properly. Together, they got the job done much faster, and Naruto realized that working in a team is actually fun. When it was time for the kitchen, Naruto decided that he could handle washing the dishes, since he thought it was the easiest. He put on rubber gloves, picked up a sponge, and enthusiastically set to work. But as it turned out, the force with which he washed the dishes was too great. At some point, a plate slipped in his hands, flew out and broke into small pieces. Naruto froze, stunned by what just happened. "Oh, I'm sorry, Mahiru. I didn't mean to." Mahiru hurried over to him, but instead of getting upset, she laughed again. "Naruto, you seem to be putting too much effort into cleaning. But it's okay, these things happen. Let's just be a little more careful." Naruto, relieved by her reaction, smiled. "Thank you for not getting mad. I'll try to be more careful." They cleaned up the broken glass together and continued working. Mahiru taught Naruto how to wash dishes properly without using too much force, and he gradually got better at it. Each new task was accompanied by Mahiru's comments and jokes, which created a light and relaxed atmosphere. She was patient and attentive, showing Naruto how to do the tasks correctly, and he, in turn, tried to follow her instructions. Their joint work turned into a fun adventure, where every little thing mattered. When most of the work was done, Mahiru suggested that they take a short break and have some tea. They settled down on the couch in the living room, and Mahiru handed Naruto a cup of warm green tea. "You really helped me out today," she said, looking at Naruto gratefully. "I always had a hard time cleaning alone, but with you it became fun and not hard at all." Naruto felt his heart warm at her words. "I'm glad I could help. Yes, there were some setbacks, but together we got through it." Mahiru nodded, her eyes glowing with a warm light. "You're very hardworking, Naruto. And that's a quality I really appreciate. It makes you special." Naruto was confused by her words, but he felt a pleasant feeling ignite inside him. He was pleased to know that Mahiru saw him as more than just a friend. He began to realize that his feelings for her were becoming more obvious. After they finished their tea, Mahiru suggested finishing the cleaning, the rest of which consisted of putting the furniture back in place and light decorative tidying. Naruto happily agreed, and together they finished the job. When everything was finished, Mahiru's apartment was sparkling clean and cozy. Naruto looked at the result of their joint work and felt proud that they were able to do everything together. "It looks like we did a great job," he said, looking at Mahiru. "The apartment looks great." Mahiru nodded, pleased with the result. "Yes, thank you, Naruto. Without you, I wouldn't have gotten through this so quickly." They settled back on the couch, enjoying the feeling of a job well done. Silence fell between them, but it was not the silence of discomfort, but the silence of peace and understanding. They both knew that their relationship had begun to go beyond mere friendship, and the feeling was exciting and pleasant. Mahiru, having collected her thoughts, decided to break the silence. "You know, Naruto, I notice how hard you try in everything you do. You are very hardworking and always willing to help. That is really appreciated." Naruto felt his heart begin to beat faster at her words. "Thank you, Mahiru. It's important to me to be useful, especially when it comes to people I value." Her words and his response brought them even closer together. Naruto felt that something special was beginning to form between them, and it made him think about the future. As the evening drew to a close, Naruto knew it was time to say goodbye. He didn't want to leave, but he knew there were still many more moments they would spend together. "Thank you for today, Mahiru," he said, standing up from the couch. "It was a pleasure helping you." Mahiru stood up with him and came closer. "Thank you, Naruto. This day was special to me. I hope we have many more moments like this." They exchanged warm glances, and Naruto felt that something significant had happened between them. This day wasn't just a day of helping clean up, it was a day where they grew closer to each other, where their feelings began to develop. As Naruto left the apartment and headed to his own, his thoughts were still occupied with Mahiru. He knew that their relationship would only grow stronger, and that they would become closer with each passing day. And he was ready to accept these changes, because they brought him joy and a sense of satisfaction that he had not felt for a long time. Lying in bed, Naruto couldn't fall asleep for a long time, thinking about the past day. He understood that there was still a lot of new and unknown things waiting for them ahead, but now he was sure of one thing: he was not alone in this new world. Next to him was Mahiru, a person who understood him and supported him in everything. And this knowledge brought him peace and confidence in the future. A couple of days passed and Naruto found himself at Mahiru's door once again. After the day they spent together, he felt like their relationship had deepened. He knew that these feelings were new to him, and at the same time, he couldn't deny that he was attracted to them. When Mahiru opened the door, her face lit up with a smile again. "Hello, Naruto. How are you?" "Hey, Mahiru," Naruto replied, slightly embarrassed. I just thought we could do something together again today. Maybe you want some help again?" Mahiru laughed. "You're so thoughtful, Naruto. Actually, I was thinking about rearranging the furniture a little. I've had the urge to do it for a long time, but I was hesitant. How about you help me with it?" "That's a great idea," Naruto said, his eyes lighting up with enthusiasm. "I'd be happy to help." Mahiru invited him in and together they began discussing a plan to rearrange the furniture in her apartment. Mahiru wanted to make the living room more spacious, adding some light and freedom of movement. They started by moving the couch to the other wall and then moved the table closer to the window. Naruto used his strength to lift and move the furniture with ease, and Mahiru guided him, explaining how and what she wanted to see. "You're handling this so easily," Mahiru remarked as she watched Naruto move the table. "I guess this was a common thing in your past?" Naruto smiled. "Well, you could say that. In combat missions, I often encountered the need to use my power, but this is a little different. I like that I can use it to do something useful." Mahiru nodded, looking at him with admiration. "You are truly unique, Naruto. Your strength and kindness make you special." Naruto felt a warm feeling ignite inside him. It was comforting to know that Mahiru saw him as more than just strength. He knew that these moments spent together were strengthening their bond. When all the furniture was put in its new places, Mahiru suggested that they take a short rest and see what the result of their work looked like. They settled down again on the sofa, which was now placed against the other wall, and began to discuss the changes. "I'm pleased with the results," Mahiru said, looking around the room. "It's much brighter and more spacious. Thank you, Naruto, for helping me." "I'm glad I could help," Naruto replied, enjoying the feeling of accomplishment. "But really, it's all you're doing. You knew how things should be." Mahiru smiled and blushed slightly. "Well, I just thought about it for a long time. But you really did your best to make my ideas come true." They continued to discuss various details and ideas on how to improve the interior of the apartment, and Naruto began to realize how much he enjoyed spending time with Mahiru. Every moment spent with her made him happier and gave his life meaning. As the evening drew to a close, Naruto knew it was time to say goodbye. He thanked Mahiru again for the day they had spent together, and they exchanged warm parting words. However, as Naruto stepped outside her apartment, he felt like something was missing. He thought about how his feelings for Mahiru had deepened and that he didn't want these moments to end. Lying in his bed, he couldn't fall asleep again for a long time, thinking about the past day. He realized that something new was being born in his heart, that his feelings for Mahiru were becoming stronger. He knew that there were still many new moments ahead that they would spend together, and he was ready to accept these feelings and develop them. 6. First doubts. Another week passed, and with each passing day, the relationship between Naruto and Mahiru became closer. They spent a lot of time together, whether it was dinner, walks, or just talking about life. But with these moments, some inner uncertainty began to grow, emerging in their hearts. Mahiru found herself thinking about Naruto more and more often. He had suddenly appeared in her life, as if bringing new light and warmth. Before, her days had been monotonous and lonely, but now every day was filled with meaning, as soon as she thought about him. She began to notice how often she smiled in his presence, how her heart began to beat faster when they were together. These feelings were new and exciting, but along with them came the first doubts. One morning, as Mahiru sat at the table with a cup of tea, her thoughts returned to Naruto again. She recalled the moments they spent together, their first dinner, helping with the cleaning, walking around the city. Each moment was special, and each one left an indelible mark on her heart. "What is this?" she asked herself, closing her eyes slightly and taking a sip of warm tea. "Why do I feel so insecure?" She knew these feelings were more than just friendship. But how could she express what she felt? How could she tell Naruto how she felt without ruining what was already between them? Mahiru wasn't sure if he felt the same way. After all, Naruto was a person from another world, with another life, and perhaps his feelings for her were completely different. This thought made her heart clench with anxiety. Another day passed, and thoughts of Naruto continued to run through Mahiru's head. She knew that these feelings would not go away unless she sorted them out. But the fear of losing what they had scared her. She didn't want to risk their friendship, and that prevented her from having a frank conversation. On the other hand, Naruto was also beginning to realize that his feelings for Mahiru had become more than just friendship. He found himself thinking about her more and more often, about her smile, about how easy it was for him to communicate with her. But, like Mahiru, he wasn't sure what to do. One evening, as they sat together on the balcony, enjoying the evening air, Mahiru decided to try to sort out her feelings. She looked at Naruto, who was lost in his thoughts, and felt her heart begin to beat faster again. "Naruto," she began quietly, trying to find the right words. "I wanted to talk to you about something important." Naruto turned to her, his eyes shining with interest and concern. "Of course, Mahiru. What would you like to talk about?" Mahiru hesitated, unsure of how to begin. Her heart was pounding and she felt excitement welling up inside her. I don't know how to say this properly," she finally said. "But I've started to notice that our relationship has become more than just friendship to me." It wasn't easy for her to say those words, but seeing Naruto listening attentively made her feel a little more confident. "You've become an important person to me, and I don't want you to feel awkward about it." Naruto listened carefully, and her words made his heart beat faster. He realized that these feelings were mutual, but he still didn't know what to do. In this new world, everything was new to him, and these feelings, despite their strength, made him doubtful. "Mahiru," Naruto replied quietly, looking into her eyes, "I feel like you've become someone special to me too. But I don't know how to properly express it." He paused, considering his words. "I'm used to protecting others, being strong and confident. But now I feel a little lost. This world is new to me, and I don't know what to do." Mahiru listened carefully, her heart filling with warmth from his words. She understood that his doubts were due to his past, to the fact that he was used to a completely different life. "Naruto, I understand that this is all new to you. And I don't want to rush you or make you feel uncomfortable. I just want you to know how I feel." Naruto nodded, feeling relieved by her words. "Thank you, Mahiru. I don't want to rush things either. But I'm glad we can talk about this openly." Mahiru smiled and they fell into silence again, but this time it wasn't an awkward silence, but rather a moment where they both tried to come to terms with the fact that their feelings had become something more. A few days passed, and Mahiru began to notice that her relationship with Naruto had become even closer. They still spent a lot of time together, but there was something more between them now, something that they both recognized, but were not yet ready to call by its proper name. One such day, when they were preparing dinner together, Mahiru felt a wave of warmth again when Naruto accidentally touched her hand. This simple gesture made her heart beat faster, and she realized that she couldn't ignore her feelings. "Naruto," she began again, trying to speak calmly, "I can't stop thinking about what you said to me back on the balcony. I know you're having a hard time adjusting to the new world, but I want you to know that I'm always here for you if you need help or support." Naruto looked at her with gratitude in his eyes. "Thank you, Mahiru. It really means a lot to me to know that you're there. You've become my support in this world, and I don't know what I'd do without you." These words touched Mahiru deeply, and she felt her feelings for Naruto grow stronger. But with that came doubts. She didn't know what would happen next, and she was afraid that these feelings could ruin what they already had. After dinner, they sat on the sofa again, and silence fell between them. Mahiru tried to find words to express her feelings, but every time she opened her mouth, she was overcome with fear. Naruto was also silent, his thoughts were occupied with the same doubts. He did not know what to do, because in this world everything was new and incomprehensible to him. He was afraid that his feelings could confuse them both and lead to misunderstandings. A few more days passed, and Mahiru began to notice that their relationship had become a little strained. They still spent time together, but there was more awkwardness and silence between them now. Mahiru tried to understand what was going on, and suddenly realized that they were both afraid of the same thing, the fear of losing what they already had. On one of those evenings, when they were sitting on the balcony again, Mahiru decided to finally confess her feelings. She knew she had to do it. Otherwise her doubts would only grow. "Naruto," she began, trying to sound as calm as possible, "I understand that we both feel something more than just friendship. And I don't want those feelings to ruin what we have." Naruto looked at her, his heart started beating faster again. He felt the same way, but he didn't know how to express it. "Mahiru," he replied quietly, looking into her eyes, "I'm afraid too. I'm afraid that if we're not careful, we might lose what we already have." These words made Mahiru think. She knew that their fears were justified, but at the same time, she knew that if they were not honest with each other, their doubts would only get worse. "I think we should be honest with each other," Mahiru finally said, her voice soft but firm. "If we hide our feelings, it will only make things more difficult." Naruto nodded, realizing that she was right. He realized that their relationship was important to him, and that he didn't want to lose Mahiru because of his fears. "You're right," he replied, his voice full of determination. "We have to be honest with each other. I don't want to lose you, Mahiru." These words left a deep impression on Mahiru. She felt her heart fill with warmth again, and she realized that she could no longer hide her feelings. "Naruto," she said quietly, her voice shaking slightly, "I think I'm falling in love with you." It wasn't easy for her to say these words, but she knew she had to say them. She looked at Naruto, waiting for his reaction. Naruto froze for a moment, realizing the meaning of her words. He felt his heart fill with joy and relief. He realized that his feelings for Mahiru were mutual, and that they could now be honest with each other. "Mahiru," he began, his voice full of emotion, I too feel the same way." These words were a real revelation for Mahiru. She felt her heart fill with joy and she realized that their relationship had reached a new level. They were both silent, enjoying the moment when their feelings became clear. It was the moment when they both realized that their fears were unfounded, and that their feelings only strengthened their bond. A few minutes passed, and Mahiru finally spoke up. "I'm so glad we were able to talk about this. I feel like everything is much clearer now." Naruto nodded, smiling. "Yeah, I feel better too. Now I understand that we can overcome any doubts if we're honest with each other. They fell into silence again, but this time it wasn't an awkward silence, but a moment when they both enjoyed the realization of their feelings. A few more days passed and Mahiru and Naruto continued to spend time together, but now there was more warmth and understanding between them. They became closer to each other and their relationship began to develop with renewed vigor. They knew that there were still many challenges and doubts ahead, but now they were confident in their feelings and knew that they could cope with any difficulties together. Lying in her bed that night, Mahiru felt happy and content. She knew that their relationship was still in its early stages, but she was ready to move forward, supporting Naruto and knowing that he would be there for her. Naruto, lying in his bed, felt the same way. He knew that his life in this new world had become much brighter thanks to Mahiru, and he was ready to move forward with her support and knowing that she would be there. 7. Caring for Mahiru. Autumn came into its own, and the weather gradually began to change. The days became shorter, the air cooler, and this could not help but affect people's health. One such day, when a cool wind penetrated every crack, Mahiru felt unwell. Her body was brittle, her head was slightly dizzy, and her throat began to itch. She hoped that this was just a temporary ailment and tried to ignore the symptoms, but by evening she felt worse. Naruto, as usual, was going to spend the evening with Mahiru, but when he knocked on her door, he heard a weak response. Upon opening the door, he immediately noticed that Mahiru looked ill. Her face was pale, her eyes seemed tired, and she was sitting on the couch, wrapped in a warm blanket. "Mahiru, what's wrong with you?" Naruto asked worriedly. Immediately approaching her. She smiled weakly, trying not to show how bad she really felt. "Just a cold, nothing serious," she replied, but her voice was hoarse and weak. Naruto immediately realized that it wasn't just a cold. He sat down next to her, feeling her forehead, and felt that she was hot. "You're burning up. You need to rest and heal. I'll take care of you." Mahiru tried to protest, but weakness and fatigue took over. She nodded, feeling that she couldn't fight the illness. "I just wanted to lie down for a while, but I think I really need to rest." Naruto didn't waste any time. He hurried to the kitchen to make her some warm tea with honey and lemon, which always helped with a cold. He returned soon with a tray and handed her a cup. "Here, drink this. It will help warm you up." Mahiru gratefully accepted the tea and took a sip. The warm liquid soothed her sore throat slightly, and she felt a small sense of relief. "Thank you, Naruto. You're so thoughtful." Naruto smiled, his heart filling with warmth at her words. He knew he couldn't leave her alone like this. "Don't worry, I'll be here to help you. You need to heal and rest." He helped her get comfortable on the couch, bringing her a warm blanket and pillow so she could rest. Mahiru felt too tired to object, and let Naruto take care of her. Several hours passed and Naruto stayed by Mahiru's side, monitoring her condition. He knew that a cold could quickly develop into something more serious if not treated properly. Her condition improved slightly after she drank warm tea and rested for a while, but Naruto decided that she needed something more nutritious. "I'll make you some soup," he said, getting up from the couch. "It should help you regain your strength." Mahiru, who was beginning to fall asleep, only nodded weakly in response. Her head was spinning from fatigue, and she felt too weak to resist. Naruto went to the kitchen to make soup. He chose the simplest and easiest recipe he knew, remembering his cooking lessons with Mahiru. He tried to do everything carefully so as not to make noise and disturb her. When the soup was ready, he returned to the living room with a bowl of hot soup and a spoon. "Mahiru, I made you some soup," he said quietly, trying not to wake her if she had already fallen asleep. She opened her eyes with difficulty and looked at him. "Thank you, Naruto. You do so much for me." Naruto helped her sit up and handed her a bowl of soup. "Just eat a little. It will help you regain your strength. Mahiru accepted the bowl and began to eat slowly. The hot soup warmed her up pleasantly from the inside and she felt her body begin to relax a little. Naruto sat next to her, watching her, his heart filled with joy that he could help her in this difficult moment. Once she finished eating, Naruto cleared away the dishes and helped her get comfortable on the couch again. He realized that she needed as much rest as possible to recover. You should get plenty of rest, Mahiru. I'll be here if you need anything. Mahiru nodded again, her eyes full of gratitude and warmth. She knew Naruto wouldn't leave her alone, and that gave her a sense of security. Thank you, Naruto. I'm glad you're here. Naruto remained seated next to her, his eyes never leaving her face. He realized how much she had become dear to him. Her weakness and sickly appearance touched his heart, and he knew that he was ready to do anything to help her recover. A few hours passed and Mahiru seemed to have fallen asleep. Her breathing became even and she looked a little better than before. Naruto decided not to wake her and let her rest. He sat down on the chair next to the sofa and began to think about his feelings. He realized that his concern for Mahiru was not just an act of friendship. It was something more that he felt in his heart. He began to realize that she had become something special to him, someone he could not imagine his life without in this new world. Naruto remembered all the moments they spent together, their first dinners, walks, cooking together, and even cleaning. Each of these moments was unique and important to him. But now, when he saw her weak and sick, his feelings became even more obvious. He understood that he could not lose her, that she had become a part of his life. As evening came, Mahiru began to wake up. She felt a little better, but her body was still weak. When she opened her eyes, she saw Naruto sitting next to her, seemingly dozing. Naruto, she called quietly, trying not to scare him. He instantly opened his eyes and looked at her. Mahiru, you're awake. How are you feeling? She smiled slightly. A little better, but still weak. Naruto nodded. It's okay. You should continue to rest. I'm here to help you. Mahiru felt her heart fill with warmth at his words. She knew Naruto had always been caring and kind, but his caring now was something special, something that touched her deep down. A few more hours passed and Mahiru started to feel a little better. She was able to stand up and take a few steps around the room, but her body was still weak. Naruto supported her, helping her move, and this caused her mixed feelings. On one hand, she felt grateful for his help, but on the other hand, she felt a little uncomfortable that she needed such support. I don't want to be a burden to you, Naruto, she said quietly as he helped her sit back down on the couch. Naruto looked at her with a serious expression. Mahiru, you are not a burden. I am here because I want to take care of you. You are important to me, and I will not let you suffer alone. These words moved Mahiru to tears. She realized that Naruto truly cared about her not only as a friend, but as someone who had become dear to him. She felt her heart fill with joy and gratitude for having him by her side. A few more days passed, and Mahiru gradually began to recover. Her condition had improved, but she still felt weak. Naruto continued to take care of her, cooking for her, bringing her medicine, and helping around the house. He never left her side, and Mahiru realized how important he had become to her. One evening, when Mahiru was starting to feel better, they settled down on the couch again, like they had before she got sick. Naruto brought her a cup of hot tea, and they started talking about various small things. Naruto, Mahiru began, looking at him with gratitude in her eyes, I don't know how to express my gratitude for everything you've done for me. You were there for me when I needed it most. Naruto smiled, his eyes glowing with warmth. You don't have to thank me, Mahiru. I'm glad I can be by your side. You're important to me, and I want to take care of you. Mahiru felt her heart fill with warmth once again at his words. She knew Naruto was speaking from the heart, which made his words even more meaningful. A few more minutes passed and silence fell between them. Mahiru thought about how much her feelings for Naruto had changed in the last few days. She was beginning to realize that he had become more than just a friend to her. "Naruto," she began quietly, trying to find her words, "I think you've become more than just a friend to me. I'm starting to feel like you've become more than that to me." It wasn't easy for her to say these words, but she knew she had to say them. She looked at Naruto, waiting for his reaction. Naruto froze for a moment, realizing the meaning of her words. He felt his heart fill with joy and relief. He realized that his feelings for Mahiru were mutual, and that they could now be honest with each other. "Mahiru," he began, his voice full of emotion, I too feel the same way." These words were a real revelation for Mahiru. She felt her heart fill with joy and she realized that their relationship had reached a new level. They were both silent, enjoying the moment when their feelings became clear. It was the moment when they both realized that their fears were unfounded, and that their feelings only strengthened their bond. A few minutes passed, and Mahiru finally spoke up. "I'm so glad we were able to talk about this. I feel like everything is much clearer now." Naruto nodded, smiling. "Yeah, I feel better too. Now I understand that we can overcome any doubts if we're honest with each other." They fell into silence again, but this time it wasn't an awkward silence, but a moment when they both enjoyed the realization of their feelings. A few more days passed, and Mahiru had fully recovered. But these days spent together with Naruto became special for both of them. They realized how important they were to each other, and how their feelings deepened during this time. Lying in her bed that night, Mahiru felt happy and content. She knew that their relationship was still in its early stages, but she was ready to move forward, supporting Naruto and knowing that he would be there for her. Naruto, lying in his bed, felt the same way. He knew that his life in this new world had become much brighter thanks to Mahiru, and he was ready to move forward with her support and knowing that she would be there. 8. Celebrating Christmas. Winter had arrived, covering the city in a blanket of white snow. The streets were decorated with garlands and colorful lights, sparkling, creating a festive atmosphere. The spirit of Christmas was in the air, and the feeling permeated every corner of the city. For Naruto, this holiday was new and unusual, but he quickly realized how important Christmas was to the people of this world, and especially to Mahiru. Mahiru told Naruto a lot about the traditions of this holiday, about how she loved to decorate the house, prepare gifts for friends and family, spend time in a cozy home environment. And although her life was not always filled with joy, Christmas always brought her a special warmth. She tried to make this holiday special every year, and Naruto decided that he wanted to make this day unforgettable for her. In recent weeks, their relationship had become much closer. They spent a lot of time together, sharing their thoughts and experiences, but both were still hesitant to openly express their feelings. Each of them felt that something was changing, but neither dared to make the first move. Naruto, watching Mahiru prepare for the party, decided that this evening should be special for her. Naruto began preparing for Christmas early. He thought through every step carefully: what to cook, how to decorate the apartment, what gift to choose. He wanted everything to be perfect, so that Mahiru would feel how much she meant to him. In the end, he chose a gift for her, an elegant silver snowflake ornament, which he hoped would symbolize the purity and beauty of their relationship. The day before Christmas, Mahiru was busy preparing gifts for her friends and loved ones. She felt a little excited and happy about the holiday, but at the same time, she couldn't shake the feeling that this year would be special. Deep down, she hoped that Naruto felt something for her too, but she was afraid to admit it even to herself. When Mahiru returned home on Christmas Day, she expected to see the familiar cozy atmosphere of her apartment, but what she saw exceeded all her expectations. Opening the door, she froze at the threshold, amazed by the beauty of what lay before her. The room was decorated with garlands and candles, dishes emitting delicious aromas were on the table, and in the corner there was a Christmas tree decorated with toys and twinkling lights. "Merry Christmas, Mahiru," Naruto said as he walked out from behind the table with a warm smile on his face. Mahiru was stunned. Her heart was filled with warmth and joy. "Naruto, this is incredible," she whispered, unable to hide her emotions. "You arranged all this for me?" Naruto nodded, feeling a sense of satisfaction from her reaction. "Yes, I wanted to make this evening special. You mean a lot to me, and I wanted this Christmas to be unforgettable." Mahiru couldn't hold back her tears. She didn't expect such a surprise and was deeply touched. "Thank you, Naruto. This is the best gift I could have received." They sat down at the table, and Mahiru noticed how carefully everything was prepared. The food was delicious, the atmosphere was cozy and warm. She felt like she was in a fairy tale, where everything around was filled with love and care. "You tried so hard," she said, starting to eat. "This is so delicious. I didn't even know you could cook." Naruto was slightly embarrassed, but was glad that she appreciated his efforts. "I wanted to do something nice for you, Mahiru. You deserve the best." They continued their dinner, and their conversation flowed easily from one topic to another. Naruto talked about his life in Konoha, how he became a ninja, about his friends and those who were always by his side. Mahiru listened with interest, asked questions, shared her own memories of childhood, how she dealt with difficulties and went towards her dreams. After dinner, they moved to the couch where they began opening presents. Naruto handed Mahiru a small box, and when she opened it, she found a delicate snowflake-shaped decoration inside. It was simple yet elegant, and Mahiru immediately knew that Naruto had chosen it with special care and thought. This is so beautiful," she said quietly, looking at the gift. "Thank you, Naruto. This is the best gift I could have received." Naruto smiled, feeling his heart fill with joy. "I'm glad you enjoyed it. I wanted you to have a memory of this day." In return, Mahiru handed him a small box, inside of which was a leather bracelet decorated with symbols reminiscent of his past. This gift was a symbol of his roots, his history, and a reminder of who he was before he came to this world. "I knew that this symbol meant a lot to you," Mahiru said softly, looking at him lovingly. "I wanted you to always remember who you are, no matter where you are." Naruto was touched by her attention and care. He put the bracelet on his hand and felt the warmth spreading through his body. "Thank you, Mahiru. This gift really means a lot to me." They sat next to each other, enjoying the silence and warmth of the moment. That evening, something special had arisen between them that was difficult to put into words. It was not just affection, but something more that they both felt, but could not yet name. Once all the presents were opened, Naruto suggested watching a movie. They chose a light romantic comedy, which was perfect for ending this magical evening. They settled down on the couch under a warm blanket and watched the movie, occasionally exchanging glances and smiles. Mahiru felt her heart fill with joy every time their eyes met. But as the movie came to an end, the atmosphere in the room became warm and a little tense again. Mahiru felt her heart begin to beat faster as Naruto turned to her and looked her straight in the eyes. She found the moment both terrifying and exciting, and she didn't know what to expect. They sat in silence for a long time, their gazes focused on each other. Naruto wanted to say something important, but he didn't know how to properly express his feelings. Mahiru, in turn, also felt that this moment was special, but she didn't want to ruin it with inappropriate words. "Mahiru," Naruto finally said, his voice quiet and a little shaky, "I'm glad we got to spend this evening together. You've really become very important to me." Mahiru blushed slightly and looked down. "I'm glad too, Naruto. This evening was simply magical." They fell silent again, enjoying the moment. The soft light, the silence of the room, and the warmth emanating from each other created the perfect atmosphere for expressing their feelings. But they both knew that it would take a little more time. As the evening drew to a close, Naruto walked Mahiru back to her apartment. They exchanged warm parting words, and Mahiru walked inside, feeling her heart fill with joy and warmth. She knew that this day had been something special for her, and even though there was no confession, she felt that their relationship had become even closer. Naruto, back in his room, lay in bed for a long time, thinking about the previous evening. He knew that there was something between them, but he didn't know how to properly express his feelings. This evening made him realize that Mahiru had become more than just a friend to him, but he decided not to rush things. That Christmas Eve marked the beginning of a new stage in their relationship. They both realized that they felt something more, but decided to put off confessing it until later, to give their feelings time to grow stronger and develop. After Mahiru closed the door behind her, she stood in her room for a while, feeling a strange warmth inside. At this moment, she was overwhelmed with emotions, and she couldn't pinpoint exactly what she was feeling. On one hand, it was a relief that everything had gone as well as she had hoped. But on the other hand, a feeling of uncertainty was growing inside her. Why hadn't Naruto told her anything about his feelings? Was he just unsure? Or was he afraid of messing something up? Her thoughts were interrupted by the sound of her phone. It was Mahiru's friend, whom she hadn't spoken to in a long time. Mahiru decided to answer and take her mind off things for a bit. The conversation with her friend was pleasant, but even during it, her thoughts kept returning to Naruto and how the evening had gone. Later, lying in bed, she replayed all the moments of that day in her head. How Naruto had greeted her at the door with a warm smile, how they had eaten dinner together, how they had opened presents, how they had watched a movie. Each of these moments had something special, but at the same time, she felt that something was missing. Maybe she wanted him to say something more, to confirm her suspicions and hopes. On the other hand, she understood that Naruto might be experiencing the same feelings, uncertainty, fear that something would go wrong. After all, their relationship had developed gradually, and perhaps they both needed a little more time to sort out their emotions and understand what they really wanted from each other. Mahiru closed her eyes, hoping that sleep would bring her peace and clarity. She knew that there would be many more moments in the future where they could be together, and she hoped that in one of those moments, they would be able to talk openly and honestly about how they felt. At the same time, Naruto, lying in his room, was also thinking about the previous evening. He knew that there was something between them, that their relationship had become much closer than before, but he still wasn't sure how to express his feelings. He was afraid that if he said something wrong, he might ruin what they already had. This fear was unfamiliar to him. Before, when he was in Konoha, everything was simpler. He knew what he had to do, how to protect his village, how to fight enemies. But now, in this new world, everything was different. He was no longer a ninja who fought for his village. He was an ordinary person now, and this new life required new decisions and actions from him. Naruto remembered the first time he met Mahiru, how they started talking, how this bond had gradually developed between them. He knew that she was more than just a friend to him now, but he didn't know how to properly express it. He was afraid that if he said something wrong, he might ruin what they already had. But at the same time, he knew that he couldn't continue to ignore his feelings. He knew that at some point, he would have to confess to Mahiru how he felt. But for now, he decided to give them both some time to sort out their emotions and figure out what they really wanted from each other. This Christmas Eve was a big milestone for both of them in their relationship. They both felt like there was something between them, but they weren't ready to talk about it openly yet. This evening gave them the opportunity to understand how important they were to each other and prepare for the moment when they could be honest with each other. 9. Walk in the park. Winter had come into its own, covering the city with a fluffy layer of snow. The trees framed by ice crystals reminded us of the fragility and beauty of nature, which, despite the cold, retained its appeal. Naruto and Mahiru decided to spend the day together, choosing the park as the place for their walk. It was the perfect place to enjoy the peace and beauty of winter, away from the bustle of the city and endless worries. When Naruto arrived at Mahiru's house, he felt a slight excitement. His heart beat faster as he walked up the steps and knocked on the door. Soon, the door opened and Mahiru appeared in front of him, dressed in a warm coat and scarf. Her cheeks were pink from the cold, and her eyes were shining with joy. "Hello, Naruto," she said with a smile that immediately warmed his heart. "Ready to go for a walk?" "Hello, Mahiru," he replied, trying to hide his slight nervousness. "Yeah, I'm ready. Shall we go?" They walked towards the park together, talking about how they had spent the last few days. Mahiru talked about her work, how she was preparing for an important project, and Naruto shared his thoughts on how he was adapting to his new life in this world. Despite the ease of their conversation, each of them felt like something was going to be different today. When they entered the park, they were greeted by silence, broken only by the light crunch of snow underfoot. The breeze playing with the branches of the trees created a feeling of solitude, as if they were in their own world, far from everyone else. "I've always loved places like this," Mahiru said, pausing for a moment to admire the snow-covered trees. "Here you can forget about all your problems and just enjoy nature." Naruto nodded, smiling at her words. "Yeah, it's really beautiful here. We had places like this in Konoha too, but they never looked so magical." They continued their walk, enjoying the moments of silence that were interrupted only by the sounds of nature. Each of their movements was cautious, as if they were afraid to disturb this peace. Mahiru looked at Naruto with interest, trying to catch his mood, to understand what he was thinking. A few minutes passed before they reached a small bench located near a frozen pond. Naruto suggested that they sit down and rest. Mahiru happily agreed and they sat down on the bench together, enjoying the view of the pond that seemed frozen in time. "It's so peaceful here," Mahiru said quietly, looking out at the icy surface of the pond. "I like places like this, where I can just sit and think about life." Naruto also looked at the pond, his mind began to wander. He thought about his friends in Konoha, the ones he left behind. Even though he had adapted to his new life, memories of the past still troubled him. "You know," he began, not taking his eyes off the pond, "sometimes I think about the past. About the people who were important to me. I always felt like my life should be dedicated to protecting others. But here, in this world, things are different." Mahiru listened carefully, her heart aching with sympathy for Naruto. She understood that it wasn't easy for him to leave everything behind and start a new life. "I understand, Naruto. You've been through a lot, and it's not easy. But here, you have a chance to start over, and I want you to be happy." Naruto turned to her, his eyes meeting hers. He felt her words sink deep into his heart. "Thank you, Mahiru. You are very important to me, and I want you to know that." Mahiru blushed slightly, her heart beating faster. She knew that there was something more than just friendship growing between them, but she still didn't know how to express her feelings. "You're important to me too, Naruto. I'm glad we met." They sat next to each other, enjoying a moment of closeness that did not require words. Time seemed to stand still, and for them there was nothing but silence and their presence with each other. Some more time passed, and Mahiru suggested that they continue their walk. They got up from the bench and, holding hands, walked further along the path leading deeper into the park. The snow crunched softly under their feet, and the cold air was refreshing and invigorating. Each of their steps was full of caution, as if they were afraid to destroy this fragile harmony that they had managed to create. They walked past snow-covered trees, past frozen bushes and paths that led them deeper into the park. Each of them was lost in their own thoughts, but this did not create a sense of disunity. On the contrary, their silence was filled with understanding and closeness that was difficult to express in words. Naruto occasionally glanced at Mahiru, noticing how she was enjoying this moment. Her face was glowing with joy and calm, and it made her even more beautiful in his eyes. He felt that he was becoming more and more attached to her with each passing day, but he still didn't know how to express his feelings. Mahiru also noticed Naruto looking at her and her heart skipped a beat with excitement. She didn't know how to react to his gaze, but she felt that something important was happening between them that required time and patience. A few more minutes passed and they reached a small bridge that spanned a frozen stream. Naruto stopped in the middle of the bridge and suggested that Mahiru stay there for a few minutes to admire the view. She happily agreed and they stood together at the railing, looking at the frozen water with a light steam rising from it. "You know, Mahiru," Naruto began, looking at the water, "I always thought that my life would be about fighting, about protecting the ones I love. But now I'm starting to realize that there are other things that are important." Mahiru looked at him with interest, her eyes full of tenderness. "What things, Naruto?" He smiled slightly, still looking at the water. "Relationships. People who become important to you. I realize that it is important not only to protect, but also to appreciate those around you. I am glad that I met you, Mahiru. You changed my life." Mahiru felt her heart beat faster again. She knew Naruto was being sincere, and that made his words even more meaningful. "You changed my life too, Naruto. I'm grateful that we met and can be by each other's side." They stood on the bridge, enjoying the moment, which was filled with warmth and understanding. Their silence was not awkward, instead, it created a sense of closeness that did not require words. Each of them felt that their relationship was continuing to develop, but they were not yet ready to take the next step. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in warm shades of pink and orange, they knew it was time to head home. Naruto offered to walk Mahiru back to her apartment, and she happily accepted. They walked through the park, hand in hand, enjoying the last minutes of their walk. The snow continued to fall, softly covering the ground, and there was a feeling of something magical in the air, something that could happen at any moment. As they approached the park's exit, Naruto stopped and looked at Mahiru. "Thank you for this day, Mahiru. I'm glad we spent it together." Mahiru smiled, her eyes sparkling with joy. "Thank you, Naruto. This day was special for me." They stood there looking at each other, each feeling that there was something more between them than just friendship. But they weren't ready to say it out loud yet. They knew that moment would come, but for now they were content with what they had. As they said goodbye, they exchanged warm words and a promise to meet again. Each of them went home thinking about what had happened, knowing that their relationship was continuing to grow and that there were many more important moments ahead. When Naruto returned home, he sat by the window for a long time, looking at the snowy streets. His thoughts returned to Mahiru, to her smile, to the way she looked at him in the park. He felt that their relationship was becoming something more than just friendship, but he knew that he shouldn't rush things. He knew there were still many challenges ahead, but he was now confident that they could overcome them together. This day was an important step in their relationship, and he was grateful that he was able to spend it with Mahiru. Meanwhile, Mahiru, lying in her bed, was also thinking about the day that had passed. Her thoughts were filled with the joy and warmth that she had felt with Naruto. She felt that their relationship was continuing to grow, and that there were many more wonderful moments ahead. She closed her eyes, feeling her heart fill with happiness. This day had become special for her, and she knew that many more amazing events were waiting for them ahead. 10. Confession. A few days had passed since Naruto and Mahiru spent time together in the park. Their relationship was gradually getting closer, and both realized that there was something more between them than just friendship. That day, Naruto finally decided to take an important step, to confess his feelings to Mahiru. Mahiru had noticed that Naruto had been a bit distant lately, as if something was bothering him. She tried to ignore it, but she still felt uneasy. She wondered what might have happened, and was afraid that he simply wasn't ready for a relationship. That evening, when they had agreed to meet at her place, her heart was beating faster than usual. She felt like something was going to change that evening, but she didn't know what to prepare for. As Naruto approached the door, he took a deep breath, trying to calm his nerves. He knew it wouldn't be easy, but he decided he had to be honest with Mahiru despite his fears. He knocked, and soon the door opened. "Hello, Naruto," Mahiru said with a smile, trying to hide her nervousness. "Come in, I've already made some tea." "Hello, Mahiru," Naruto replied as he entered the apartment. He took off his shoes and walked into the living room, where the soft light of the lamps created a cozy atmosphere. "Thank you for inviting me." They sat down on the couch and there was silence between them for a while. Mahiru handed him a cup of tea but noticed that his hands were shaking slightly. She realized that Naruto was also nervous, which only increased her own tension. "Mahiru," Naruto finally began, setting his cup down on the table in front of him. He sighed, trying to gather his thoughts. "I've been wanting to talk to you about this for a while, but I didn't know how to start." Mahiru listened carefully, her heart skipping a beat in anticipation. "Is something wrong, Naruto? You seem tense." Naruto looked into her eyes, his voice full of determination, but trembling with excitement. "No, nothing bad happened. It's just, I have to tell you something. We spent a lot of time together, and I realized that you've become more than just a friend to me." Mahiru froze, her eyes widening in surprise. She felt like this moment would change everything, but she didn't know how to react. Her heart was beating so fast it felt like it was going to burst out of her chest. "You know," Naruto continued, not taking his eyes off her, "you've made my life better. You've always been there for me when I needed you, and I've started to realize that I can't imagine my life without you anymore. I think I've fallen in love with you, Mahiru." The words echoed throughout the room, and Mahiru felt her eyes fill with tears. She had expected something like this, but hearing it from Naruto was something unbelievable. She felt her heart fill with joy, but at the same time, a slight sense of fear came over her. What if this was all a mistake? "Naruto," she said quietly, her voice shaking with emotion. "I've had feelings for you for a long time too. You changed my life, and I fell in love with you too." Naruto felt his heart fill with joy and relief. He took her hand, feeling it tremble slightly. "You have no idea how happy I am to hear that, Mahiru. I was afraid I might mess this up, but now I know I made the right move." They sat next to each other, holding hands, enjoying a moment of closeness that did not require words. Time seemed to stop, and for them nothing existed except their feelings and the fact that they were next to each other. A few minutes passed and Naruto, looking into her eyes, felt that this was the perfect moment to show his feelings. He slowly leaned towards her and their lips met in a soft and gentle kiss. It was their first kiss and it was full of love and tenderness. After the kiss, they pulled away from each other, smiles playing on their faces. They realized that they had taken the first step towards something more. They continued the evening by discussing their feelings and dreams for the future. Naruto and Mahiru talked about how they could support each other, how they could cope with difficulties, and what was waiting for them in the future. Each of them was full of confidence that their relationship would be strong and happy. As the evening drew to a close, Naruto walked Mahiru to the door. He didn't want to leave, but he knew now was the time. "Thank you for tonight, Mahiru," he said quietly as they reached the door. "I'm so happy we were finally able to talk about this." Mahiru smiled, her eyes shining with joy. "Thank you, Naruto. I'm very happy too. This evening was special for me." They shared another short kiss and Naruto walked out of the apartment, feeling his heart filled with joy and confidence that they could now face any challenges together. When he returned home, he sat for a long time by the window, looking at the snow-covered streets. His thoughts were full of joy, and he knew that this day had changed his life forever. Mahiru, lying in her bed, was also thinking about the evening that had passed. Her heart was full of happiness, and she knew that there were many new moments ahead that they would share together. This evening became an important stage in their relationship, and they both knew that now their love would become even stronger. They were sure that together they would be able to overcome any difficulties and find their happiness. 11. The other side of life. Naruto and Mahiru were on cloud 9 after finally confessing their feelings for each other. Their relationship, which was already close, took on a new level and they began spending even more time together, enjoying every moment they could share. However, as often happens in real life, the joy does not always last forever. They soon began to face problems that neither of them expected. The first crack in their relationship appeared when Naruto began to realize that his past still had a huge impact on him. At times, despite his love for Mahiru, he found himself mentally returning to the world he had left behind. His thoughts constantly returned to those he had left behind in Konoha, friends who might have needed his help. It tormented him, despite his determination to start a new life. Mahiru, of course, noticed that Naruto was becoming more thoughtful and sometimes seemed distant. She tried not to disturb him, but an inner unease grew. She was worried that Naruto might regret being in this world, and she was afraid that his thoughts about the past could interfere with their relationship. One evening, when they were having dinner together, Mahiru couldn't resist and decided to ask Naruto a question that had been swirling around in her head for a long time. "Naruto, do you often think about the world you came from?" she asked cautiously, looking at him with a slight worry in her eyes. Naruto froze for a moment, his hand holding the spoon frozen in midair. He hadn't expected such a question, but he knew that this conversation had to happen sooner or later. He slowly lowered the spoon and sighed, trying to collect his thoughts. "Yes, Mahiru, I think about it often," he admitted, looking down. "That world was my life. My friends were there, my mission. I can't just forget about everything that happened." Mahiru nodded, trying to understand his feelings. Her eyes were full of sympathy. "I understand, Naruto. But you're here with me now. We've started a new life together. Don't you want to leave the past behind and focus on our future?" Naruto sighed again, his heart aching at her words. He knew she was right, but he couldn't just let go of his past. "You're right, Mahiru. I want to be with you, and I want to build our future. But it's hard for me to forget about those who were dear to me. Sometimes I feel like I've betrayed them by leaving them behind." These words startled Mahiru and she felt her heart fill with worry. She knew Naruto's past was complicated, but she didn't expect him to be so worried about it. "You didn't betray them, Naruto. You did everything you could. Now you have a new life, and I want you to be happy here with me." Naruto looked up and met her gaze. He saw genuine care and love in her eyes and it warmed his heart. "I know, Mahiru. I don't want you to suffer because of my past. I'll try to let it go and focus on our lives." This conversation was an important step in their relationship. They began to talk more about their feelings, share what was bothering them. However, this was only the first step towards solving the problems that were beginning to arise. Several weeks passed and the tension between them began to mount. Mahiru noticed more and more that Naruto was becoming more distant. He would often sit by the window, looking into the distance, as if searching for something beyond the horizon. Mahiru tried to support him, but she felt that she couldn't help him as much as she wanted. One evening, when they were sitting down to dinner again, Mahiru decided to have another conversation. "Naruto, I see that you continue to worry about your past. But I don't know how to help you. I feel like we're drifting apart." Naruto sighed, feeling his heart clench at her words. He knew she was right, but he didn't know how to solve the problem. "I know, Mahiru. I'm having a hard time dealing with this. I want to be with you, but sometimes I feel like it's my duty to be where I'm needed." Mahiru looked down, her heart full of worry. She understood that Naruto still felt responsible for those he left behind in Konoha, and that it was preventing him from fully immersing himself in their relationship. You still feel like a ninja, Naruto. But now you have a new life, and I want you to be happy here with me. These words made Naruto think. He knew that he had to let go of his past, but he was having a hard time doing so. He knew that his feelings for Mahiru were genuine, but he still felt torn between two worlds. A few more days passed and the tension between them continued to build. Mahiru felt Naruto becoming more distant and it began to worry her. She was afraid that their relationship would fall apart if they did not find a way to deal with these issues. One day, when they were walking in the park, Mahiru couldn't take it anymore and decided to tell Naruto her feelings. Naruto, I can't live like this anymore. I feel like we're drifting apart, and it scares me. I don't want to lose you, but I don't know how to help you. Naruto stopped and looked at her, his heart clenching at her words. He knew she was right, but he didn't know how to deal with it. Mahiru, I don't want you to suffer because of my past. But it's hard for me to let it go. I love you, and I want to be with you, but sometimes I feel like I'm letting you down. Mahiru felt her eyes fill with tears. She didn't know what to say to help him. I don't want you to feel guilty, Naruto. I want you to be happy, but I don't know how to do that. This conversation became a turning point in their relationship. They both realized that something needed to change in order to save their feelings. Mahiru decided that they needed to spend more time together to strengthen their bond and help Naruto let go of his past. A few weeks passed, and Mahiru began to notice that Naruto was gradually becoming more open and attentive. He began to talk more about his feelings, about what was bothering him. Mahiru supported him in everything, trying to help him cope with his inner experiences. One evening, as they sat on the balcony enjoying the sunset, Naruto took Mahiru's hand and said, "Mahiru, I know the past few months have been tough for us. I know my past still affects me, but I promise I'll try to let it go and focus on our lives." Mahiru squeezed his hand, her eyes sparkling with happiness. "I'm glad to hear that, Naruto. I love you and I want us to be happy together. We can overcome any difficulties if we are together." This moment became the beginning of a new chapter in their relationship for both of them. They started talking to each other more, sharing their thoughts and feelings. Mahiru realized that their love was growing stronger every day, and she was ready to support Naruto in everything. A few more weeks passed, and their relationship became even stronger. Naruto began to spend more time with Mahiru, and they became even closer to each other. They began to plan their future, discussing what they wanted to achieve together. However, despite all his efforts, Naruto's past still came back to him sometimes. He knew that he couldn't completely forget about what happened in Konoha, but now that he had Mahiru's support, it made him stronger. Mahiru also felt that their relationship had become stronger. She was glad that Naruto had opened up to her, and she was willing to support him in everything. They both knew that their love had been tested by hardships, but that made them even stronger. This evening became another step towards happiness for them, and they both knew that their relationship had now become even stronger and deeper. They were sure that together they could overcome any difficulties and find their happiness. 12. Support from friends. After Naruto and Mahiru overcame the first difficulties in their relationship, they began to feel that their bond was becoming stronger. However, as often happens, life throws up new challenges, and now they were faced with a situation that required the help of their friends. Amane Fujimiya and Itsuki Akazawa, who Naruto and Mahiru had known for some time, noticed that there had been changes in their friends' lives. Mahiru had become more confident, her eyes sparkling with happiness, and Naruto, although he was still thoughtful at times, seemed calmer and more peaceful than before. This did not escape the attention of Amane and Itsuki, and they decided to find out what was going on. One evening, when Naruto and Mahiru gathered for dinner with Amane and Itsuki, the atmosphere was unusually warm. Everyone was gathered in Amane's apartment, which was known for its coziness and hospitality. Naruto and Mahiru arrived together, and it was immediately noticeable that their relationship had changed. It wasn't obvious or showy, but rather it was felt in the little things, the way they looked at each other, the way they touched each other, and the way their voices sounded when they spoke. Amain, always attentive to details, was the first to notice the changes. When everyone sat down at the table, he decided to joke around to ease the tension. "Okay, come on, admit it, what kind of romantic thing are you doing here?" he said with a smile, glancing at Mahiru and Naruto. Mahiru blushed slightly and looked down, unsure of how to respond to such a direct question. Naruto, on the other hand, frowned slightly, but quickly realized that Amain wasn't trying to hurt them, he just wanted to know what happened. "Well, Mahiru and we started dating," Naruto answered with a slight pause, trying not to put too much weight on the statement, but at the same time understanding that it was important to both of them. Itsuki, who had remained silent until now, was the first to react. "Wow! This is great news," he said, genuinely happy for his friends. "Now a lot of things fall into place." Amain supported Itsuki, smiling even wider. "I knew it. You two are shining like two light bulbs. This is great, guys. We're really happy for you." Mahiru felt her heart fill with warmth at her friend's words. She was happy that they took their news so well, and it gave her confidence in their relationship. Naruto also felt relieved that their friends were supportive. The evening went on and conversations flowed easily and casually. However, Amain and Itsuki had one more thing they wanted to discuss. As dinner came to an end and everyone moved on to dessert, Amain decided to bring up a more serious topic. "Naruto," he began, looking straight at him, "I want to talk to you about something. We all know that you come from another world, and I understand that this can be difficult for you. But how are you dealing with it now? You seem calmer, but I'm sure it's not easy." This question made Naruto think. He knew that his past still had an effect on his life, and that sometimes he had a hard time dealing with it. But he also knew that his friends were genuinely worried about him, and he decided to be honest. "It's true that it wasn't easy for me," Naruto began, trying to find the right words. "But Mahiru helped me a lot. She always supported me, and thanks to her, I started to realize that I can live here and be happy. But the past still comes back to me sometimes, and it can be hard." Mahiru, hearing these words, squeezed his hand under the table, trying to support him. She knew how difficult it was for him to talk about this, and her heart ached for him. Itsuki and Amain exchanged glances, realizing that their friend was going through something serious. "Naruto, we're here to support you," Itsuki said, his voice full of sincerity. "If you ever need help or just someone to talk to, know that you can always count on us." Amain nodded in agreement. "Yes, Naruto, you are not alone. We are all here for you and we will always be there for you. We know it may be hard for you, but you are strong and we believe in you." These words touched Naruto deeply. He felt his heart fill with gratitude and warmth from the support of his friends. He never thought that he would be able to find such loyal and caring friends in the new world. And this realization gave him the strength to move on. "Thank you," Naruto said quietly, his voice shaking with emotion. "You have no idea how much this means to me. I'm glad I have friends like you." This moment became another important stage in the life of Naruto and Mahiru. They realized that the support of friends plays a huge role in their lives, and that together they can overcome any difficulties. After this conversation, the evening continued in a lighter and more relaxed atmosphere. Everyone laughed, shared stories from their lives, and enjoyed each other's company. Naruto felt more confident knowing that he had people around him who were always ready to support him. A few days passed after that dinner, and Naruto began to notice that his relationship with Amain and Itsuki had become even stronger. They were no longer just friends, but a real family that was ready to support each other in any situation. Naruto felt that his life in this world was becoming more stable and harmonious. One day, While Naruto was sitting on a park bench, enjoying the warm autumn day, a main came up to him. He sat down next to him and looked at Naruto as if he wanted to say something. "Naruto, I wanted to talk to you about what's going on between you and Mahiru," a main began, his voice serious but not stern. "I see how happy you two are together, and that's great. But I want to make sure you understand that it's not easy for her either. She's really worried about you." Naruto listened carefully, realizing that Amain truly cared about his relationship with Mahiru. "I know, Amain. Mahiru is very important to me, and I try to do everything to make her happy. I know that she worries about me, and I want to be a support for her, like she is for me." Amain nodded, his gaze softening. "That's good, Naruto. I can see that you care about her, and that's what matters. But don't forget that you need to take care of yourself too. You shouldn't have to take on all the burden. We're here to help you." These words made Naruto think. He always believed that he should protect those dear to him, but now he realized that sometimes he needed support too. He was grateful to Amain for this conversation and decided that he would trust his friends more. "Thank you, Amain," Naruto said, his voice full of sincerity. "I promise I'll rely on you more. I realize I don't have to do everything alone." Amain smiled, his eyes glowing with warmth. "That's all I needed to hear, Naruto. We're here for you, and we'll always be there for you. You're not alone." After this conversation, Naruto felt that his relationships with his friends had become even stronger. He began to spend more time with Amain and Itsuki, sharing his thoughts and experiences with them. They became even closer, and this helped Naruto cope with the difficulties that still came his way. Mahiru also noticed the changes in Naruto. She saw that he became more calm and confident, and this made her happy. They began to spend more time together, enjoying every moment they could share. One evening, while Naruto and Mahiru were sitting on the balcony watching the stars, Naruto suddenly felt like he had something important to say. "Mahiru," he began, his voice full of determination. "I want you to know that you've made my life better. You've always been there for me when I needed you, and I want to be as supportive to you as you've been to me." Mahiru looked at him, her eyes shining with happiness. "Naruto, you already make me happy. I love you, and I will always be here to support you." These words touched Naruto deeply, and he felt his heart fill with love and gratitude. He realized that he had found his place in this world, and that he now had everything he needed to be happy. 13. The first night together. After all the trials and tribulations that Naruto and Mahiru had gone through, their relationship had reached a new level. They both felt that there was a deep connection between them that could not be ignored. This connection grew stronger with each passing day, and finally, the moment came when they both realized that they were ready to spend their first night together. It was a cool autumn evening. Mahiru had invited Naruto to her house for dinner, as they had done many times before. But today, everything seemed a little different. There was a slight tension in the air that both of them tried not to notice, but it was present in their every look, in their every gesture. Mahiru had prepared herself for this evening carefully. She had thought long and hard about how everything should go. She wanted everything to be perfect, but at the same time her heart was pounding with excitement and slight anxiety. She tried to hide her emotions behind her usual smile, but Naruto, who knew her well, felt that something had changed. When Naruto arrived, he immediately noticed that there was a special atmosphere in Mahiru's apartment. She had lit candles that softly illuminated the room, creating a cozy and warm atmosphere. On the table were dishes that Mahiru had prepared with special care. She always loved to cook for Naruto, and today was no exception. "Hello, Naruto," Mahiru said with a small smile as he walked in. "I made your favorite dish. I hope you like it." "Hello, Mahiru," Naruto replied, his voice full of warmth. "Thank you for inviting me. Everything looks great." They sat down at the table and the conversation gradually began. They discussed the events of the last few days, shared their thoughts and dreams. Naruto felt that there was a special closeness between them, and it made him happy. However, he also felt a slight anxiety that did not leave him. After dinner, Mahiru invited Naruto to stay the night. The offer was almost casual, but there was more to it than just friendly concern. Naruto felt his heart beat faster, but he accepted the offer gratefully. When they moved to the living room, Mahiru suggested watching a movie. They settled on the couch, and Mahiru, feeling the warmth next to Naruto, involuntarily moved closer. They both felt their bodies reacting to each other's closeness, and the tension in the room began to rise. The movie was light and casual, but neither Naruto nor Mahiru could fully focus on it. Their thoughts were on each other, and the feeling was so new and yet so frighteningly pleasant. Naruto felt his hand slowly, almost unconsciously, slide towards Mahiru's. When their fingers touched, he saw her flinch, but she didn't move away. Mahiru looked at Naruto, her eyes met his, and in that moment she realized that she didn't want to hold back her feelings anymore. She slowly leaned towards him, and their lips met in a gentle kiss that was full of love and passion, but also cautious. This kiss was the first step into a new chapter of their relationship. After the kiss, they pulled away from each other, but not for long. Naruto looked at Mahiru, and in his eyes she saw the same desire that she felt. They could no longer ignore their feelings, and this evening became the beginning of something new for them. Mahiru took Naruto's hand and led him to the bedroom. The room was lit only by the soft glow of a night light, creating a warm and cozy atmosphere. Naruto felt his heart beat faster, but he was ready to go further. They stopped at the edge of the bed, and Mahiru looked down, slightly embarrassed. Naruto, I don't know how to act properly. I've never done this before. Naruto felt his heart clench at her words. He realized that this was just as new and exciting for her as it was for him. He walked closer and gently hugged her, holding her close. Don't worry, Mahiru. We can go slowly. I don't want to rush things either. These words calmed Mahiru down and she felt her tension ease a little. She realized that Naruto was willing to support her no matter what, and that gave her the strength to continue. They slowly began to undress, helping each other, but doing it carefully and gently. No rush, no pressure, just the love and understanding they felt for each other. When they were in bed, their bodies merged in one movement, and they felt their hearts beating in unison. This night was full of tenderness and warmth. Naruto and Mahiru took their time, enjoying every moment, every touch. They felt their bodies and souls becoming one, and this feeling was new and wonderful for both of them. When they finally laid down next to each other, their hearts were still beating faster from what they had experienced. Mahiru, hugging Naruto, felt her soul filled with happiness. She knew that she had made the right choice, and that Naruto was the person she wanted to spend the rest of her life with. Naruto, in turn, felt the same. He held Mahiru close to him, feeling the warmth of her body, and knew that he had finally found his place in this world. He was grateful to fate for bringing him here, and for meeting Mahiru. They lay side by side for a long time, sharing the thoughts and feelings that overwhelmed them. The night gradually gave way to morning, but they were in no hurry to fall asleep. Every word, every look, every breath was full of love and mutual understanding. When the morning finally came and the first rays of the sun entered the room, Naruto and Mahiru greeted it with a smile. They knew that many challenges lay ahead of them, but now they were confident that they could overcome them together. This night was a big step in their relationship and they both knew that their love was stronger now. They were ready for new challenges but knew that together they could overcome any difficulties. 14. Dealing with the past. After Naruto and Mahiru spent their first night together, their relationship became even stronger and more trusting. However, despite their best efforts, Naruto still carried the burden of his past. He knew that at some point, he would have to tell Mahiru about his origins, that he came from another world where magic and martial arts were part of everyday life. A few days had passed since their first night together, and Naruto was becoming increasingly aware that he couldn't put off this conversation any longer. His past wasn't just a memory, it was still influencing his thoughts and actions. He was afraid that if Mahiru knew the truth, she might be afraid or not understand him, but he also knew that he couldn't hide it from her any longer. One evening, as they sat on the balcony, Naruto felt that it was the right time to talk. Mahiru was sitting next to him, wrapped comfortably in a blanket, looking at the stars. Her face was calm, and she seemed completely lost in her thoughts. Naruto watched her for a few minutes before he finally spoke. "Mahiru," he began, his voice quiet but determined. "I've been thinking about what I should tell you. There's something important you need to know." Mahiru looked at him, her eyes meeting his. She noticed that Naruto looked serious, and her heart sank in anticipation. "Is something wrong, Naruto?" she asked, trying not to show her excitement. Naruto sighed and looked away, gathering his thoughts. He knew this conversation would be difficult, but he knew he couldn't put it off any longer. "I come from another world," he finally said, trying to sound as calm as possible. "A world where chakra, martial arts, and magic exist. I was a ninja, and my life was full of battles and dangers." Mahiru was taken aback by these words. She looked at Naruto, unable to immediately process what he had said. "Another world? Ninja?" she repeated, trying to figure out what that meant. "Are you serious?" Naruto nodded, understanding that she needed time to process what he had heard. "Yes, I am serious. I know it sounds unbelievable, but it is true. I came to this world through some kind of dimensional rift during the last battle. And since then, I have been living here, trying to get used to my new life." Mahiru felt her heart pounding in a mixture of surprise and disbelief. She couldn't believe Naruto was being serious, but his voice, his gaze, everything told her he wasn't joking. "But how is that possible?" she finally asked, her voice shaking with excitement. "I've never heard of such a thing." Naruto sighed again, knowing that this would be hard for her to accept. "I know it's hard to believe. But in my world, it was reality. I was part of a ninja team, we fought, we protected the village. I had friends that I went through a lot with. And I still remember them, I remember that world, but now I'm here with you." These words made Mahiru think. She looked at Naruto, trying to comprehend everything he said. "Do you miss that world?" she asked quietly, her voice full of sympathy. Naruto thought for a moment before answering. "Sometimes, yes. I miss my friends, the ones who were by my side. But now I have a new life, and I'm happy here, with you. I don't want to go back, even if I had the chance. I found what I was always looking for here, peace and happiness." Those words filled Mahiru's heart with warmth. She felt her worries begin to subside, and she realized that Naruto had truly found his place in this world, and that he didn't want to leave her. "I'm glad you're here, Naruto," she said, squeezing his hand. "You've made my life better, and I want you to know that I'll always be here for you." Naruto smiled, feeling his heart fill with gratitude and love. He was glad that he had decided to tell her the truth, and that Mahiru had accepted him for who he was. They sat on the balcony for a long time, talking about life, the past, and the future. This conversation became an important stage in their relationship for both of them, strengthening their bond and trust in each other. A few days passed after this conversation, and Naruto noticed that Mahiru had become even more attentive and caring towards him. She tried to support him in everything, understanding that his past still affected his thoughts and actions. But now she knew the truth and was ready to share his pain and experiences with him. One evening, as they sat on the balcony again, Mahiru decided to bring up a topic that had been bothering her for a long time. "Naruto, have you ever thought about returning to your world?" she asked, her voice filled with worry. Naruto looked at her, his gaze soft but firm. No, Mahiru. I don't want to go back. I found my happiness here, and I don't want to leave you. You've become what I've always been looking for, and I don't want to lose that. These words filled Mahiru's heart with joy. She felt her worries disappear, and she realized that Naruto had truly found his place in this world. They sat next to each other, enjoying the peace and quiet, and knew that their bond was now even stronger. This conversation was an important step for both of them towards fully accepting each other for who they were. Naruto realized that he no longer needed to hide his past, and that Mahiru was ready to accept him with his history and all his experiences. They began to talk more about their feelings, share thoughts and dreams, and this made their relationship even deeper and more sincere. A few more weeks passed, and Naruto began to notice that his thoughts about the past began to bother him less. He realized that his life now belonged to a new world, a new beginning, and that he had everything he needed to be happy here, next to Mahiru. He was grateful to her for her understanding and support, and knew that they could overcome any difficulties together. Mahiru, in turn, also felt that her life had become full and rich. She was glad that she had been able to support Naruto during his difficult time, and that now they could move forward together, hand in hand. She understood that their love had been tested by hardships, but that had only made them stronger. One day, as they were walking through the park, enjoying the warm summer evening, Naruto suddenly stopped and looked at Mahiru. His gaze was full of determination, and she felt that he was about to say something important. Mahiru, he began, his voice firm and confident. I want you to know that you are the most important thing in this world to me. I promise that I will always be by your side, no matter what happens. I love you, and I am ready to move forward with you, building our future. These words touched Mahiru to the depths of her soul. She felt her heart fill with happiness, and she knew that she had found her love, her destiny. I love you too, Naruto, she replied, her voice full of tenderness and sincerity. I'm happy that you're here with me. And I'm ready to go with you further, wherever life takes us. They embraced, feeling their hearts beating in unison. This moment became for both of them a symbol of the beginning of a new life, full of love, mutual understanding and happiness. 15. Meeting Mahiru's family. A few weeks had passed since Naruto and Mahiru had deepened their relationship, and both felt their bond was growing stronger. However, despite all the trials they had gone through together, one of the biggest trials was yet to come: Naruto meeting Mahiru's parents. Mahiru had long wanted to introduce Naruto to her family, but she knew it might not be easy. Her parents were strict, especially her father, who always wanted to protect his daughter. She knew Naruto could be a little awkward in social situations, especially with people he didn't know, and that worried her. One evening, while they were having dinner together, Mahiru decided that this moment could not be put off any longer. She carefully opened the conversation, her voice soft but firm. Naruto, she began, trying not to show her excitement, I was thinking that it's time for us to meet my parents. I know it might be a little stressful, but I think it's important for both of us. Naruto looked at her, his eyes full of surprise, but he quickly realized that this was a natural step in their relationship. He knew that meeting the parents was a big step, and while he felt some anxiety, he also knew that he couldn't avoid it. You're right, Mahiru, he replied, trying to sound calm. I think it's important, too. I want your parents to know that I'm serious about our relationship and that I'm willing to be there for you. These words calmed Mahiru down a little, and she smiled, feeling that Naruto really understood the importance of this step. I'm glad you think so. I'll try my best to make this introduction as smooth as possible. They agreed to meet Mahiru's parents on the weekend. Naruto spent the next day thinking about how to act, what words to choose to make a good impression. He had never met his friend's parents before, and it was a new and slightly scary experience for him. When the day of the meeting arrived, Naruto felt a slight nervousness that had been lingering in him since the morning. He carefully chose his clothes, trying to look as presentable as possible, and even asked Mahiru for advice to help him pick out something suitable. Mahiru, seeing how worried Naruto was, tried to calm him down. "Don't worry, Naruto," she said, smiling. "My parents may seem strict, but they are kind people. The main thing is to be yourself, and everything will be fine." These words calmed Naruto down a little, but he still felt uneasy. He knew that this meeting was very important to Mahiru, and he didn't want to let her down. They arrived at Mahiru's parents' house in the afternoon. It was a cozy house with a well-kept garden that immediately gave off a feeling of comfort and warmth. As they approached the door, Mahiru stopped and looked at Naruto, her eyes glowing with warmth and support. "Everything will be fine," she said, taking his hand. "I'm with you." Naruto nodded, feeling her words ease his tension a little. He took her hand and took a deep breath, preparing himself for what was to come. Mahiru knocked on the door, and a few seconds later it opened, and her mother appeared on the threshold. She was a middle-aged woman with a soft face and kind eyes that immediately drew attention to Naruto. She smiled welcomingly upon seeing her daughter and her companion. "Mahiru, my dear. How good to see you," she said, hugging her daughter. Then her gaze moved to Naruto, and her smile grew even warmer. "And you must be Naruto. We've heard a lot about you." Naruto felt his anxiety begin to subside under the warm gaze of Mahiru's mother. He bowed slightly in respect. "Yes, it's me. Pleased to meet you." Come in," her mother invited, letting them in. "Mahiru's father is already waiting for you in the living room." They entered the house, and Naruto immediately felt that it was cozy and calm. Waiting for them in the living room was Mahiru's father, a man with a serious, but not stern face. He stood up when they entered, and his gaze was focused on Naruto. "Hello, Naruto," he said, holding out his hand in greeting. "I'm Mahiru's father." Naruto felt his heart beat faster, but he tried to remain calm. He firmly shook Mahiru's father's hand, trying to show that he was ready for this important moment. "Hello, nice to meet you," Naruto replied, trying to sound confident. They all sat down at the table and Mahiru's mother began serving tea. The conversation was casual at first and Naruto began to feel a little more relaxed. He knew that Mahiru's parents were watching him, judging him, and it made him feel a little wary, but he tried to be himself, as Mahiru had advised. After they drank tea, the conversation turned to more serious topics. Mahiru's father, who had been rather silent until now, decided to ask Naruto a few questions. "Naruto, I understand that you are new to our daughter's life," he began, his voice firm but not hostile. "I was wondering what your plans are for the future. What are you planning to do?" The question made Naruto think. He knew his answer would be important, and he tried to choose his words as carefully as possible. "To be honest, I'm still getting used to living in this world," he began, trying to be frank. "But I want to find my place here, I want to be useful. As for my relationship with Mahiru, I'm serious. I want to be by her side and support her in everything." Mahiru's father nodded, his gaze remaining focused on Naruto. "Those are good words, Naruto. But be prepared for life to bring many challenges. I want you to understand what it means to be with Mahiru." Naruto felt his heart clench at those words, but he knew that Mahiru's father wasn't trying to scare him, he was just making sure that his daughter was in good hands. "I understand that," Naruto replied, his voice full of determination. "I'm willing to face any hardship for her sake." This answer seemed to satisfy Mahiru's father. He smiled slightly, and the tension in the room eased a little. Mahiru's mother, who had been watching the conversation, finally intervened, her voice soft and soothing. "Darling, I think Naruto has already proven that he cares about our daughter. Let's not put too much pressure on him," she said, turning to her husband. Mahiru's father nodded in agreement with his wife, and the atmosphere in the room became more relaxed. The conversation moved to lighter topics, and Naruto began to feel like he was slowly gaining the trust of Mahiru's parents. A few hours passed, and when it was time to say goodbye, Naruto was already feeling much more confident. Mahiru, seeing how he handled this challenge, was filled with pride for him. "Thank you for your hospitality," Naruto said to Mahiru's parents as they prepared to leave. "I'm glad I could meet you." "And we're glad we got to meet you, Naruto," Mahiru's mother replied with a smile. "You'll always be a welcome guest in our home." Mahiru's father also extended his hand in farewell. "Take care of our daughter, Naruto. That's all we ask." "I promise," Naruto replied firmly, shaking his father's hand. As they left the house and started walking down the street, Mahiru felt her heart fill with joy. She was happy that everything went so well and that Naruto managed to make a good impression on her parents. "You were amazing, Naruto," she said as they paused for a moment to look at each other. "I'm proud of you." Naruto smiled, feeling his worries finally disappear. "I'm glad everything went well. I was really worried, but your parents turned out to be kind people." Mahiru squeezed his hand, her eyes shining with happiness. "Now I'm confident that we can overcome any difficulties, Naruto. I know that our parents will support us, and that makes me even happier." They continued walking, enjoying the warm evening air and the feelings that overwhelmed them. This day had become an important stage in their relationship, and they both knew that their love would become even stronger now. There were still many challenges ahead, but they were sure that they would overcome them together, hand in hand. 16. Conflict with Amain. A few days had passed since Naruto had met Mahiru's parents. Their relationship continued to develop, and they felt increasingly confident about their future together. However, as is often the case, life does not always go according to plan, and surprises can arise at any time. One morning, Naruto and Mahiru decided to meet their mutual friends, Amain Fujimiya and Itsuki Akazawa. These were the same people who had supported their relationship from the beginning, but Amain seemed to have her doubts. They agreed to meet at a cafe to spend time together and discuss the latest news. However, from the very beginning of the meeting, Naruto noticed that Amain did not look as friendly as usual. His gaze was focused, and there was tension in his movements. Itsuki, noticing that the atmosphere in the group had become slightly tense, tried to lighten the mood by joking about how he had recently spent time with his friends. However, the joke did not elicit the usual laughter, and the conversation did not go well from the very beginning. Mahiru sensed that something was wrong and looked at Amain with a little worry. "Amain, is everything okay?" she asked, hoping that she could figure out the reason for his mood. Amain hesitated for a moment, then looked straight at Naruto. "Actually, no," he replied, his voice firm. "There is something I would like to discuss." Naruto felt his heart clench at those words. He hadn't expected Amain to be so blunt, and he wasn't prepared for what happened next. "What do you want to discuss?" Naruto asked carefully, trying to figure out where his friend was going with this. Amain sighed, clearly trying to keep his composure. "Look, Naruto, I've been your friend since you came here, and I've always supported you. But lately, I've been starting to have doubts. You've been getting too involved in Mahiru's life, and I feel like she's losing herself around you." These words hit Naruto like a bolt from the blue. He never thought that any of their friends would think that way about his relationship with Mahiru. He felt his heart begin to beat faster in a mixture of surprise and worry. "What do you mean, Amain?" Naruto asked, his voice filled with concern. "Why do you think that?" Amain sighed, looking at Naruto seriously. "I see how much of an impact you have on her life. She's been spending less time with us, and more time with you. And I'm not sure if that's a good thing. Mahiru is our friend, and I don't want her to lose herself in a relationship." Those words hit Naruto like a hammer. He knew that Amain genuinely cared about Mahiru, but he didn't expect his feelings to be so deep. He didn't want his relationship with Mahiru to cause discord in their circle of friends. Mahiru felt her heart clench in pain after hearing Amane's words. She didn't want her friends to fight over her. "Amane, please don't think like that," she began, her voice filled with worry. "I'm still your friend, and I value you. But my feelings for Naruto are important to me." Amane looked at her, his eyes full of care and concern. "I understand, Mahiru. But I'm just afraid that you might lose yourself in this relationship. I don't want you to stop being who you've always been." Naruto felt his heart clench at those words. He knew that Amane was saying that out of concern for Mahiru, but he found it hard to accept that kind of criticism. He didn't want anyone to think that he could hurt Mahiru. "I understand your concerns, Amane," Naruto replied quietly, trying to remain calm. "But I will never let Mahiru lose herself. I love her for who she is, and I want her to remain herself." Amane looked at Naruto, his eyes full of doubt. "I just want to make sure you understand how important this is," he said. "Mahiru isn't just your girlfriend, she's our friend. And I want to make sure you don't change her." The words hung in the air and the room was silent for a moment. Naruto knew that the conflict that had arisen between them was serious and that he had to do everything he could to resolve it. Mahiru, sensing the tension between Naruto and Amane, decided to intervene. "Please, guys, let's not fight," she said, her voice filled with concern. "I know you both want the best for me. But I want you to understand that my feelings for Naruto are sincere, and that I won't change my relationship with you." These words made both men think. They realized that their argument could harm not only their friendship, but also their relationship with Mahiru. Naruto felt his anger and frustration begin to subside, and he realized that he had to find a way to resolve this conflict peacefully. "I apologize if my actions caused you concern, Amane," Naruto said, his voice soft and sincere. "I promise that I will always respect Mahiru and her friends. I don't want her to lose herself or her relationship with you." Amane thought for a moment, and then his expression softened. He realized that Naruto was being sincere, and that he truly cared about Mahiru. "I'm sorry too," he said, his voice softening. "I just want everything to be good for her. If that's what you truly think, then I'm willing to support you." This moment marked a turning point in their relationship. Naruto and Amane realized that their worries and doubts were caused by genuine concern for Mahiru, and that they must work together to ensure her happiness. Itsuki, who had been watching all of this, finally decided to intervene, his voice filled with relief. "Well, now everything is back to normal. Let's end this conversation on a positive note and spend time together like we always do." Mahiru smiled upon hearing this, feeling her anxiety slowly fade away. She was glad that her friends were able to find common ground, and that their relationship was now even stronger. They spent the rest of the day together, enjoying each other's company and strengthening their friendship. A few days passed after this incident, and Naruto began to notice that his relationship with Amane had become warmer. They began to communicate more, spend time together, and Naruto felt that there was a new understanding and respect between them. One evening, while Naruto and Mahiru were walking around the city, they met Amane by chance. He invited them to dinner at a small cafe, and they happily accepted. During the dinner, Amane shared his thoughts on how their relationship had changed since they first met. "You know, Naruto," Amane began, his voice full of thought. "When we first met, I wasn't sure how things would turn out. But now I see that you really care about Mahiru, and I'm glad you're together." Naruto was touched by these words. He knew that Amane hadn't come to terms with her feelings easily, and he was grateful for that. "Thank you, Amane," he replied, his voice full of sincerity. "I'm glad too that we were able to overcome all the difficulties and become friends." Mahiru, who was sitting next to her, felt her heart fill with warmth. She was happy that her friends were able to find a common language and that their relationship had become even stronger. As the evening drew to a close, they said goodbye to Amain and headed home. On the way, Naruto and Mahiru discussed how much their relationship had changed since they first met, and how they had been able to overcome all the challenges. "I'm so glad that everything worked out," Mahiru said, her voice full of joy. "Now I know that our friends will always be there for us, and that we can overcome any difficulties together." Naruto, hearing these words, smiled, feeling his heart fill with happiness. "Yes, Mahiru," he replied, his voice full of confidence. "We can handle anything life throws at us because we're together." This day became another proof for them that love and friendship can overcome any obstacles. Naruto and Mahiru realized that their relationship had become even stronger, and that there were many happy moments ahead that they would spend together, hand in hand. 17. A common future. A few weeks had passed since the conflict with Amain had been resolved, and Naruto and Mahiru's lives were slowly returning to peace and harmony. Their relationship continued to grow, and they both felt that it was time to seriously think about their future. They had already been through many trials together, and now it was time to discuss how they saw their future together. One warm autumn evening, Naruto and Mahiru went for their usual walk in the park, which had become a special place for them. They spent a lot of time here, discussing their dreams and plans. However, today Mahiru felt a special need to talk to Naruto about something that had been bothering her soul for a long time. "Naruto," she began as they stopped at a large tree with yellow leaves, "I've been thinking for a long time about how we should build our lives from here on out. I feel like we've been through a lot together already, but there's more to come, and I want us to be ready for it." Naruto looked at Mahiru carefully, feeling the strong emotions that her words were causing in him. He himself had thought about what their future would be like more than once, and he knew that this conversation was inevitable. "You're right, Mahiru," he replied, his voice calm and determined. "We need to talk about how we're going to move forward. I want our future to be what we dreamed of." They continued their walk, discussing various aspects of their lives. Naruto recalled how they had started looking for a new apartment, how they had carefully chosen every element of the interior to create a cozy home that would reflect their dreams together. This process was not just a task for them, it became a symbol of their common path, their desire for happiness and harmony. "I remember when we were choosing this apartment," Naruto said, smiling at the memory. "We wanted it to not just be a place to live, but a place for us to share a safe haven where we could feel safe and happy." Mahiru nodded, her eyes shining with memories. "Yes, it was a big decision for both of us. We thought a lot about what our place should be, and I'm happy that we found it together." But talking about home and life led them to deeper questions, about how they saw their future as a whole. Mahiru sighed, gathering her thoughts. "Naruto, how do you see us in a few years? What do you want to achieve? What would you like for both of us?" Naruto thought, trying to express his thoughts. "I think our future should be one where we are both happy and fulfilled. I want us to continue supporting each other, building our lives together. I want us to have common goals and dreams that we can work towards." Mahiru smiled, feeling her heart fill with warmth from those words. "I want that too, Naruto. I want us to always be there for each other, to support each other in difficult times and to rejoice together in happy times. I want our lives to be filled with love and harmony." These words caused Naruto to feel strong emotions. He felt his heart fill with love and gratitude for Mahiru. He knew that she was the one he wanted to spend his life with, and he was willing to do anything to make sure they were happy together. "Mahiru," he began, stopping and taking her hands, "I'm ready to walk with you into the future, whatever it may be. I want us to build our lives together, to create something beautiful and meaningful. I want us to be together forever." Mahiru felt her eyes fill with tears of joy. She knew that Naruto was sincere and that they were both ready for this important step. "I want this too, Naruto," she replied, her voice shaking with emotion. "I want our future to be bright and happy. I am ready to walk this path with you." They embraced, feeling their hearts beat in unison. This moment marked an important step in their relationship. They knew that their future was now more certain, and that they were ready to build it together. A few days passed, and Naruto and Mahiru began to seriously discuss their future plans. They started by deciding where they wanted to live in the future. Although their apartment was cozy and comfortable, they realized that they might want more space or a different environment in the future. "I think we should think about where we'll be living in a few years," Mahiru said as they sat down to dinner that evening. "Maybe we'll want to move to a bigger place with enough room for everything we want." Naruto agreed with her thoughts. "Yeah, I was thinking about that too. Maybe we'll want a house with a garden where we can spend time outdoors, grow flowers, or even trees." The thought made Mahiru smile. "That would be wonderful. I've always dreamed of having a garden where we could grow flowers. It would be our little corner of nature." They started discussing what their future home should be like, what details were important to both of them. They talked about the colors of the walls, about the furniture, about what their common interior would be like. These conversations not only brought them closer, but also helped them understand each other better. But the house was only part of their future. They began to discuss other aspects of their lives, careers, hobbies, common interests. Mahiru shared her dreams of starting her own business or developing a creative direction, and Naruto expressed his desire to continue learning and developing in a new world for him. "I've always loved cooking," Mahiru said, her eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. "And I thought about opening my own little cafe where people could enjoy home-cooked food. It would be a warm place where people would be happy to come." Naruto supported her idea. "That would be great, Mahiru. I'm sure you can do it. And I could help you out in any way I can. I'd like to learn new skills that will be useful in our lives." These conversations helped them become even closer. They began to plan how they would support each other in achieving their dreams and goals, and this made their relationship even deeper and more trusting. As time went on, they became more and more immersed in their plans for the future. They began to think about how they would spend time together, how they would travel, discover new places and cultures. These dreams became more than just talk for them. They began to turn them into real plans that they were ready to implement. "I've always dreamed of visiting Europe," Mahiru said one evening as they watched a documentary about France. "I'd like to see Paris, walk its streets, taste real French croissants." Naruto smiled as he saw her eyes light up at the thought. "It would be a great trip. We could travel together, discovering new places and enjoying every moment." Mahiru nodded, her heart filled with joy. "I wish we could travel together, discover the world. It would be unforgettable." They began planning their travels, discussing where they wanted to go, what they wanted to see. These plans became another step towards the common future they were striving for. However, despite all these plans and dreams, they understood that the future is not always predictable. They knew that life can present many challenges and surprises, but they were confident that they could cope with everything that awaited them. Their love and support for each other became the foundation on which they could build their future. Several months passed, and Naruto and Mahiru began to put their plans into action. They started by deciding to invest in their future and open an account to save money to buy a house. This was an important step for them, and symbolized that they were serious about their plans. They also began discussing more concrete steps to advance their careers and achieve their dreams. Mahiru began exploring the possibility of opening her own cafe, while Naruto began looking for new knowledge and skills that could be useful to him in the future. Their lives were full of activity and enthusiasm, and every day they felt like they were getting closer to their goals. They supported each other, shared thoughts and ideas, and this made their relationship even stronger and more reliable. One evening, as they sat on the balcony of their apartment enjoying the view of the city, Mahiru suddenly remembered that they had yet to discuss one important matter. "Naruto," she began, her voice quiet but determined. "We've talked about many things, but I think there's one more important step we need to discuss. Naruto looked at her, his heart beating faster. He felt that her words could be the beginning of something very important. "What exactly do you mean, Mahiru?" he asked, trying to understand where she was going with this. Mahiru sighed, gathering her thoughts. "I'm thinking that we should think about starting a family," she said, her voice shaking with excitement. "I know it's a big step, but I feel like we're ready for it. I want us to have a family so we can share our love and happiness with our children." These words hit Naruto like a bolt from the blue. He didn't expect Mahiru to start this conversation, but at the same time, he felt like this was something he himself had been thinking about for a long time. He felt his heart fill with joy and love. "I've been thinking about that too, Mahiru," he replied, his voice full of sincerity. "I'm ready to take that step with you. I want us to have a family, to be happy together, to raise our children, and to create something beautiful." Those words brought tears of joy to Mahiru's eyes. She knew Naruto was being sincere and that they were both ready for this important step. "I want that too, Naruto," she replied, her voice shaking with emotion. "I want our future to be bright and happy. I'm ready to walk that path with you." This conversation became an important stage in their relationship. They understood that now their future had become even more certain, and that they were ready to build it together, creating a family based on love and trust. 18. Marriage Proposal. It had been a few weeks since Naruto and Mahiru had started seriously discussing their future. Their relationship was growing stronger, and Naruto knew he was ready to take the next big step. He wanted to propose, a moment that would be etched in their memories forever. Naruto knew that this move had to be carefully planned so that it would reflect all of his love and affection for Mahiru. Naruto spent the first few days of preparation thinking about how to make this moment truly special. He thought back to all the important moments of their relationship, trying to find inspiration. Thousands of ideas were spinning in his head, from simple and modest to more complex and impressive. But he knew that he had to choose something that would not only be beautiful, but also meaningful to both of them. One evening, sitting on the couch and going through his thoughts, Naruto remembered their first walk in the park, when they first started getting closer. It was a special place for both of them, many of their decisions and feelings were born there. And Naruto realized that there simply couldn't be a better place to propose. The park where their story began would be the place where they would take the next important step in their relationship. But the location itself was only part of the plan. Naruto wanted the proposal to be more than just a surprise, but a real gift for Mahiru, so that she would feel the depth of his feelings. He decided to start with a romantic dinner at their favorite restaurant, where they had spent one of their first dates. This evening was supposed to bring back the warmest memories for her and set the mood for a special event. Naruto contacted the restaurant manager to reserve the coziest table in the corner of the room, overlooking the evening city. He asked that they do their best to create a romantic and cozy atmosphere that evening. Naruto also insisted that the menu include the dishes that Mahiru especially liked, and asked to serve the wine they drank on their first date. Details were important to Naruto, and he decided that everything had to be perfect. So he carefully planned every moment of the dinner, including the music that would play when he proposed. Naruto chose their favorite tune, which always reminded them of the best moments of their relationship. When the day came, Naruto woke up early in the morning with a slight excitement in his heart. He dressed carefully, choosing the same suit that Mahiru once praised for its elegance. He knew that this evening would be special, and he wanted everything to go perfectly. Naruto checked once again that everything was ready: the ring, the restaurant, the music, everything had to match his plan. When they met at the entrance of the restaurant, Mahiru immediately noticed how handsome Naruto looked that evening. She was slightly surprised, but pleasantly excited by his attention to detail. Her heart began to beat faster, and she felt that this evening was going to be something special. They entered the restaurant, and Naruto walked her to their table, trying to remain calm, although inside he was filled with excitement. Dinner began with light conversation. They reminisced about their first meetings, told funny stories about their lives, and shared their thoughts about the future. Mahiru noticed that Naruto was a little more tense than usual. But she chalked it up to him trying to make the evening special. Little did she know what surprise was in store for her. When the moment came, Naruto signaled to the waiter and the lights in the restaurant were dimmed slightly. At that moment, their favorite melody began to play and Mahiru looked at Naruto in surprise, not understanding what was happening. Naruto smiled at her and, gathering his courage, stood up from his seat. "Mahiru," he began, his voice soft and full of determination. "Ever since you came into my life, every day has been special to me. You've made my life better, filled it with light and happiness. I realize that you're the person I want to spend the rest of my life with." Mahiru felt her heart begin to beat faster. Her eyes filled with tears of joy, and she couldn't believe that this moment had actually arrived. Naruto, looking her straight in the eyes, dropped to one knee and pulled out a small box containing a ring from his pocket. "Mahiru Shiina," he said, his voice shaking with excitement, "will you marry me?" Mahiru couldn't hold back her tears. Her heart was overflowing with emotions, and she felt that this was one of the happiest moments in her life. She always knew that Naruto was the person she wanted to be with, but this moment exceeded all her expectations. "Yes, Naruto," she whispered, her voice full of happiness and love. "Yes, I will marry you." Naruto felt his heart fill with joy as he placed the ring on her finger. The entire restaurant seemed to freeze for a moment, and then applause rang out. Mahiru threw herself into Naruto's arms, feeling their hearts beat in unison. This evening marked the beginning of a new chapter in their lives. They knew that there would be many challenges ahead, but they were confident that together they could overcome any difficulties. They spent the rest of the evening discussing their plans for the future, sharing their dreams of what their wedding would be like and what their life together would be like. Several days passed after this event, and Mahiru still couldn't believe that it actually happened. She often looked at the ring on her finger, feeling her heart fill with joy and gratitude. Naruto was there, supporting her in everything and helping her plan their future wedding. They began to discuss what their wedding would look like, who they wanted to invite, and what their special day would be like. Mahiru wanted the wedding to be warm and cozy, so that their loved ones and friends would feel comfortable. She imagined a small garden decorated with flowers and lights, where they would exchange vows and begin their new life together. Naruto supported her in this, offering his ideas and doing everything he could to make this day perfect. They began planning every detail, from the choice of flowers to the menu, and every moment spent together in preparation brought them even closer to each other. They knew that there was a lot of work ahead of them and that organizing a wedding would require a lot of effort, but they were ready for it. They supported each other, shared their thoughts and dreams, and each day brought them more and more joy and confidence that they were on the right path. This period of preparation became a time when they realized once again how strong their feelings for each other were and how important it was for them to be together. They understood that a wedding was not just an event, but a symbol of their love and devotion, and they were determined to make this day unforgettable. 19. Wedding Preparations. Wedding preparations began right after Naruto proposed to Mahiru. This moment marked the beginning of a new stage in their relationship, and they were both full of enthusiasm and excitement, as there were many things to do ahead. They knew that organizing a wedding was a difficult process that required a lot of time and effort, but they were ready for it, as this day was supposed to be one of the most important in their lives. The first thing Naruto and Mahiru did was discuss how they wanted their wedding to be. Mahiru had always dreamed of a small, cozy ceremony with only her closest friends and family. She imagined a garden wedding, with flowers and lights everywhere, creating a warm and romantic atmosphere. Naruto was completely supportive of her idea, because he knew that details were important to Mahiru, and he wanted this day to be unforgettable for her. They started by choosing a location. After much discussion and research, they found a small country house with a beautiful garden that was perfect for their wedding. The garden was surrounded by trees and various flowers bloomed in it, creating an atmosphere of coziness and tranquility. Mahiru immediately fell in love with the place, and they decided that it would be their perfect choice. Then the work on the decorations began. Mahiru was attentive to every detail, and together they discussed what flowers would be used for decoration, what colors would dominate the decor, and what the wedding arch would look like. They decided that the main colors would be white and soft pink, which would symbolize the purity and tenderness of their feelings. Mahiru wanted everything to be decorated with maximum elegance, but still keep it simple and cozy. She chose white roses and peonies to decorate the arch and tables, and added greenery to highlight the natural beauty of the garden. Naruto supported her choice, and together they discussed how the tables would be arranged and how to seat the guests so that everyone would feel comfortable. They paid special attention to the wedding menu. Mahiru wanted the wedding to feature dishes that she and Naruto especially loved. Together, they visited several restaurants and culinary studios to choose chefs who could prepare a real culinary treat for them. The menu included exquisite dishes of Japanese and European cuisine, as well as several desserts that Mahiru and Naruto tried on their first dates. Naruto also decided to contribute to the preparations. He suggested organizing a small surprise for the guests. After the official ceremony, he planned to perform a small musical number. Naruto had long wanted to learn to play the guitar, and a few months before the wedding, he began actively practicing to prepare for this performance. He knew that Mahiru loved music, and he wanted to make this moment special for her. During the preparations, they met with friends and family to discuss who to invite to the wedding. Mahiru suggested inviting her close friends from school and university, while Naruto suggested inviting his comrades he had made friends with in this world. They also decided to invite Amain and his friends, who had become an important part of their lives. Once the guest list was finalized, they began sending out invitations. Mahiru decided that the invitations would be minimalist, using natural materials and simple yet elegant designs. Each invitation featured their favorite spot in the park where Naruto proposed. This added special meaning to the invitations and symbolized their journey to this moment. When it came to choosing her wedding dress, Mahiru felt a little nervous. She had always dreamed of a beautiful, but not too poofy dress that would highlight her natural beauty and femininity. After several visits to wedding salons, she found the right dress, elegant, with delicate lace and a long train. It fit her perfectly, and when she looked at herself in the mirror, her eyes filled with tears of joy. Naruto also chose a classic suit for himself, which emphasized his confidence and elegance. He knew that this day would be special, and he wanted to look dignified next to Mahiru. As they chose their outfits together, they both felt that the wedding was becoming more real and closer. They also discussed the music for the ceremony. Mahiru wanted live music at their wedding, which would create a cozy and romantic atmosphere. They found a talented string band who agreed to play at their wedding, and selected several of their favorites for the repertoire, including the very melody to which Naruto proposed. Day by day, their plans became more and more concrete. They met with decorators, florists, musicians, and chefs to make sure everything was going according to plan. Every moment of preparation brought them joy and confidence that their wedding would be exactly what they dreamed of. They also took time for themselves, remembering that it was important to maintain balance and support each other during this important period. They organized small joint excursions into nature, where they could relax and enjoy each other without unnecessary fuss. These moments helped them to stay calm and filled them with energy for further preparation. Finally, the day came when they met with their parents to discuss the final details. Mahiru's parents were happy to see their daughter so happy and supported her in all her decisions. They offered to help with the organization and took on some of the responsibilities to relieve the couple and give them more time to rest. Naruto's parents, although they couldn't be there, were always in his heart. He remembered their teachings and advice they gave him in the previous world, and felt that they supported him in every step. Naruto knew that they would be proud of him, and that gave him the strength to move forward. Every day of preparation brought them closer to the very moment when they would say the cherished yes. They knew that not only joy but also many trials awaited them ahead, but they were sure that together they could overcome everything. Their love and support for each other became the foundation on which they built their future, and this process made their relationship even stronger. With all the preparations complete and only a few days left until the wedding, Naruto and Mahiru felt ready. Ready to take that step and start a new life together as husband and wife. In these last days, they took the time to enjoy each other's company, remembering everything that had led them to this moment, and dreaming of what lay ahead. 20. Wedding and a new life. Finally, the day Naruto and Mahiru had been waiting for so long had arrived. Their wedding day was filled with excitement, joy, and a lot of anticipation. They knew that this moment would be the beginning of a new chapter in their lives, and they wanted it to be perfect. Wedding morning. The morning started with pleasant excitement. Naruto woke up early, feeling a little tense, but also happy. He looked out the window of his apartment, seeing the sun slowly rising over the horizon, bathing the city in golden rays. This day was special, and he was ready to do everything in his power to make it perfect. While Naruto was making the final preparations, his thoughts kept returning to Mahiru. He imagined her now preparing for this day, and his heart was filled with warmth. In these moments, he felt that all the difficulties and trials he had gone through in this new world were not in vain. They led him to this day, to this woman who had become everything to him. Mahiru, in turn, also woke up with the first rays of the sun. Her heart was beating faster than usual, and she felt excitement creeping up on her. A long day of preparation awaited her, but she was sure that everything would go well, because her closest people would be by her side. She knew that this day would remain etched in her memory forever. The morning passed in pleasant bustle. Guests, friends and relatives began to arrive at the house they had chosen for their wedding. Mahiru was getting ready in a separate room, surrounded by her friends who helped her with her makeup and hair. Her room was filled with the scent of flowers that adorned every surface. The white and pink roses they had chosen to decorate the room gave it a cozy and tender atmosphere. When it was time to put on the dress, Mahiru felt a little nervous. This was the moment she had imagined many times in her dreams. Her dress was made of soft silk, decorated with lace and thin silver threads that shimmered in the light. The dress fit her perfectly, highlighting her figure and giving her grace. Her friends gasped in admiration when they saw her in this outfit, and Mahiru felt her heart fill with joy. "You look like a princess," said one of her friends, carefully adjusting the train of her dress. Mahiru smiled as she looked at her reflection in the mirror. She truly felt like a princess that day. All of her doubts and worries from the past were gone. All that was left was the certainty that her life would change forever today. Meanwhile, Naruto, dressed in a classic black suit, stood in front of the mirror, trying to cope with his nerves. He adjusted his tie several times, which suddenly seemed too tight to him. His thoughts were occupied with the upcoming ceremony, and he wanted everything to go perfectly. His friends noticed his nerves and tried to cheer him up with jokes and smiles. "Naruto, relax, you look great," one of his friends said, clapping him on the shoulder. "Mahiru will be thrilled when he sees you." Naruto smiled back, but inside him, a mixture of joy and nervous tension continued to bubble. He knew that this day would be the beginning of a new life, and he couldn't wait to see Mahiru in her wedding dress. "Thanks, guys," he replied, trying to hide his emotions. "I just want everything to go perfectly." "It would be ideal if you were yourself," another friend added. "You've already done so much to make this day special, so just enjoy the moment." These words helped Naruto calm down. He took a deep breath, looked at himself in the mirror and smiled. "You're right," he said, feeling the excitement slowly fading. "Today will be the happiest day of my life." Once everything was ready, the ceremony began. The guests gathered in the garden, where an altar had been set up against a backdrop of greenery and flowers. Naruto was already waiting there, standing under a flower arch decorated with white and pink roses. He felt his heart begin to beat faster as the music began to play, and he knew that in a few moments he would see Mahiru. Mahiru walked up to the altar, arm in arm with her father. Her steps were light but sure. As she approached Naruto, their eyes met, and for a moment the whole world disappeared. There were only the two of them, their feelings, their love. The ceremony was short but very touching. They exchanged vows that they wrote themselves. Naruto spoke about how much Mahiru meant to him, how she changed his life, how she became his light in this new world. Mahiru, in turn, spoke about how much she loved him and how grateful she was to fate that they met. These words, filled with sincerity and love, brought tears to many guests. When they exchanged rings and Naruto finally kissed his bride, there was applause and joyful cries. This moment became a real beginning of a new life for them. After the ceremony, the celebration began. Guests enjoyed exquisite dishes and drinks that were specially prepared for this day. The menu was carefully thought out and included Naruto and Mahiru's favorite dishes. The dishes included both traditional Japanese delicacies and exquisite European dishes. Each dish was prepared with love and attention to detail, which made the celebration even more special. Naruto and Mahiru invited everyone to the dance they had been practicing for the past few weeks. It was a slow, romantic dance that reflected all the tenderness and love they felt for each other. Their movements were graceful and fluid, they twirled around the dance as if there were no dozens of eyes watching them. Everyone around them felt that there was a special connection between them, and this dance was the embodiment of it. When it was time for the toast, one by one the guests raised their glasses, wishing the couple happiness and love. Amain, who was Naruto's friend, gave an emotional speech, talking about how happy he was for his friend and how he saw that Mahiru made him happy. These words touched Naruto deeply, and he was grateful to his friends for their support and understanding. After the toasts, it was time for the surprise Naruto had prepared for Mahiru. He picked up his guitar and sat down on a chair in the center of the room, slightly nervous. He knew that this moment would be one of the most important of the day. He began to play a melody that he and Mahiru always listened to together. It was a simple but beautiful song, and when Naruto sang, his voice was full of sincerity and love. Mahiru couldn't hold back her tears when she heard this song. She knew that Naruto did this for her, and her heart was filled with feelings. This moment became the highlight of the evening, and the guests discussed for a long time how Naruto was able to express his feelings so touchingly through music. The party lasted until late at night. The guests were having fun, dancing, laughing, and the atmosphere was filled with joy and happiness. Naruto and Mahiru felt that this day was perfect, and they were grateful to everyone who came to share this important moment with them. When the party came to an end, Naruto and Mahiru went for a walk in the garden with the guests, where they exchanged their last impressions and emotions of this day. They knew that this moment would remain in their hearts forever, and that this day was the beginning of their new, happy life. When all the guests left, Naruto and Mahiru were left alone. They stood under the starry sky, hugging each other, and realized that their lives had changed forever. There were many new events, joys and, perhaps, difficulties ahead of them, but they were sure that they could overcome everything because they had each other's love and support. Naruto looked into Mahiru's eyes and smiled softly. "I'm so happy that you're my wife now," he whispered, feeling his heart fill with warmth. Mahiru smiled back, her eyes shining with love and happiness. "And I'm happy to be with you, Naruto. I know that together we can handle anything that life brings us." These words became a promise for them. A promise that they would always be together, despite all the difficulties and trials that might come their way. They knew that a new life full of joy, laughter, and love awaited them ahead. And although this day had come to an end, their journey had only just begun. The next day, Naruto and Mahiru began to settle into their new life together. They moved into a cozy house that they had chosen before their wedding. This house was a new beginning for them, a place where they could start their family. The house was in a quiet area, surrounded by gardens and parks. It had enough space for everything they had planned, from cozy evenings together to gatherings with friends and family. The first thing they decided to do was to furnish the living room, which would become the heart of their home. They chose comfortable sofas, soft carpets, and wooden furniture that created a cozy and warm atmosphere. Mahiru paid special attention to detail. Family photos and paintings that they chose together appeared on the walls. Naruto placed his guitar in the corner of the room, reminding himself of how music played an important role in their relationship. They then moved on to the bedroom, which was to be their private space. Mahiru chose bed linens in soft pastel colors that matched the soft curtains. Naruto helped her with the selection, making sure that every element of the room reflected their taste and preferences. Together, they chose soft pillows and bedspreads that created a cozy and relaxing atmosphere. The whole process of arranging the house was exciting and joyful for them. They enjoyed every moment, discussing ideas and making decisions together. This house became a symbol of their new life for them, and they were full of enthusiasm and plans for the future. Once all the preparations were complete, Naruto and Mahiru began making plans for the future. They dreamed of spending weekends together, having picnics in the park, inviting friends over for dinner, and simply enjoying each other's company. They discussed their dreams and desires, sharing ideas on how to make their lives even more interesting and fulfilling. Naruto began to think about what he could do in this world. Although his life in the past was tied to martial arts and missions, in this new world he wanted to find something that would bring him joy and satisfaction. He discussed his ideas with Mahiru, and she supported him in every endeavor. Mahiru, in turn, began to think about how she could develop her career. She knew that Naruto would always be by her side, and this gave her confidence that she could achieve all of her goals. They discussed the possibility of starting their own business that would combine their interests and allow them to work together. These conversations and plans strengthened their relationship, bringing them even closer to each other. They knew that together they could overcome all the difficulties and trials that might come their way. Love and trust lived in their hearts, which became the basis of their new, happy future. The end of my story. Thank you for listening to the end.